put in, and then we would be able to envisage and test the fruits of success. So here, it is a conglomeration of the scientists, the budding scientists as the PhD and MTech scholars, the faculty members who are interested into different horizons to expand their career aspects, and then let's come together, let's make the best use of this facility so that the research at the MIT World Peace University, which from invention to innovation, from becoming the research towards successful scale-up projects, could get envisaged and materialized. And we're sure that such kind of facilitation, nurturing with the experience of scientists coming all through the India will help our students to nurture their skills, enhance the scientific temperament, and mark their footprints. When this idea of bringing in the scientists from all through the nation was sought in and placed in by our dynamic executive president, Professor Rahul Karad sir, which was raised in and supported fully by the team of leaders, Vice Chancellor Dr. Chitnis sir, Pro Vice Chancellor Dr. Pandey sir, Chief Academic Officer Professor Kamtekar sir, Dr. Bharat Kale sir, Dr. Murthy Chowli sir, and the whole team involved. And then a fantastic canvas of understanding what have done by the scientists is being placed in front of you. I am very sure all of you would have visited the website. If not, you can just visit the website nsrtc.org, and you can find out the program schedules. You can find out the scientists which are being participated in 9 versatile themes which have been identified, which will be the future for all of us. You and me all are in the same bus. And this philosopher Saint Dhaneshwara Hall, giving the blessings of the Almighty and the universe, I'm very sure we all will be profoundly make our voyage into the scientific learnings. Today we will bring you some of the glimpses of themes, important themes coming in. We have 9 themes, and today after this plenary session at 4 o'clock we have the inaugural session, and tomorrow onwards the plenary sessions, invited sessions and roundtable conferences will start at Hotel Tip Top International, where all of the scientists will share their wisdom. Some glimpses of these themes we will be presenting to you so that you will get a hands-on idea about what a big thought is envisaged under the first National Scientists Roundtable Conference. I request the technical team to relay the videos related to different themes. It's advanced material and processing. First.
Welcome everyone to the first National Scientists Roundtable Conference, or NSRTC. Today, we embark on an innovative journey exploring the fascinating world of advanced materials and processing. Advanced materials are revolutionizing industries and technologies, driving innovation and sustainability. At the forefront are nanomaterials, nanohybrids, and nanocomposites, offering extraordinary properties and applications. Organic electronics pave the way for flexible, lightweight, and cost-effective electronic devices. Inspired by nature, bio-inspired materials and biomimetic designs mimic biological processes, leading to the groundbreaking advancements. Biodegradable and sustainable materials are crucial for reducing environmental impact, promoting a greener future. In device engineering, 3D printing and other advanced techniques are transforming manufacturing, enabling rapid prototyping and complex designs. Did you know that nanomaterials can make materials stronger and lighter? Or that 3D printing can reduce waste by up to 90%? These insights highlight the transformative potential of advanced materials and processing techniques. Throughout this session, we will explore key takeaways and objectives, harnessing the unique properties of nanomaterials, advancing organic electronics, developing bio-inspired materials, promoting biodegradable and sustainable solutions, and leveraging device engineering and 3D printing for innovative applications. To guide our discussion, let's consider these questions. How can nanomaterials revolutionize various industries with their unique properties? What are the potential applications and benefits of organic electronics? How can bio-inspired materials and biomimetic designs lead to innovative solutions? What strategies can promote the development and use of biodegradable and sustainable materials? How can advanced techniques like 3D printing transform device engineering and manufacturing processes? Let's dive into the world of advanced materials and processing at NSRTC. Thank you for being part of this innovative journey.
I'm sure with this questions posed in, please note them down and let's try to find out the solutions, what scientists are working in the different fields, and the scientists would be speaking on the themes which have been shared here. So probably to find out those answers, you need to be there tomorrow onwards in the sessions where you will find that each of the scientists from a particular sub-theme would be presenting their research work and articulations. I'm sure you would be interested more. Let's dive more into to find out something which is there in some more sessions. Let's have the film for another session. Healthcare, important for all of us.
Welcome esteemed guests to the inaugural National Scientists Roundtable Conference, NSRTC, where leaders in science and innovation convene to explore the future of healthcare technologies. Today, we embark on a comprehensive exploration of interconnected themes: tissue engineering, regenerative medicine, wearable devices, the impact of digital transformation, and high technology-led affordable healthcare. Did you know? Tissue engineering is at the forefront of medical advancements, not only cultivating replacement organs, but also fostering the growth of living tissues that can regenerate and repair within the human body. Imagine a future where cardiac tissues mend themselves and spinal injuries heal with engineered precision. From regenerative medicine harnessing the potential of stem cells to wearable devices monitoring health metrics in real time, technological innovations are redefining patient care. Imagine wearing a device that not only monitors heart rate but also identifies irregularities before they escalate. The digital revolution in healthcare introduces telemedicine and AI-driven diagnostics, revolutionizing accessibility and enhancing treatment outcomes globally. Imagine a healthcare landscape where geographic barriers dissolve and healthcare solutions are accessible with the touch of a button. High technology solutions are democratizing healthcare from 3D printed prosthetics to AI-powered drug discovery. These innovations not only push the boundaries of medical science, but also ensure that cutting-edge treatments are accessible worldwide. Imagine breakthrough therapies that are not only innovative, but also economically viable for diverse communities. As we commence this pivotal dialogue at NSRTC, let's reflect on these questions. How can ethical guidelines ensure the responsible utilization of stem cells in regenerative medicine across diverse healthcare settings? What pivotal role do wearable devices play in advancing personalized healthcare solutions? And how can their data integration enhance patient care pathways? In what ways can digital transformation empower healthcare systems to deliver equitable and efficient services on a global scale? How can high technology solutions be scaled and adapted to ensure affordability without compromising quality in healthcare delivery? What collaborative strategies are essential among scientists, policymakers, and healthcare providers to maximize the impact of tissue engineering, regenerative medicine, wearable devices, digital transformation, and affordable healthcare technologies on global health outcomes? Join us in shaping the future of healthcare technologies. Together, we can innovate, collaborate, and pave the way for a healthier tomorrow.
With advanced materials catering to healthcare, then we come to understand what is that relationship that makes us more sound, the sound body and the sound mind. So here, every day morning, MIT World Peace University sings a prayer which has been interpreted by the founder, Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karad sir. And one of the words talks about Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnameva Vashishyate. This is actually a scientific verse which talks about the atom, and if we take out something from an atom which is complete, still we get an atom. So when we practice this every day morning, there is a resonance between the science and spirituality. There is a resonance between what we thought, the mind, and what we do by hands. And to understand this and make the mechanism better, which is coming up in robotic surgeries today, that we teach the machines to do it properly like the humans do, we have to have a collaborative efforts on science and spirituality. We have one fantastic session where the veterans from both the fields will try to share their minds. How can we make a unity among this, the Dvait among the converted into an Advait? I request the team to play the film on science, scientific temper, and spirituality.
Welcome everyone to the first National Scientists Roundtable Conference, or NSRTC. Today, we embark on a profound journey exploring the harmonious blend of science, scientific temper, and spirituality. Science and spirituality, often seen as distinct realms, come together to create a holistic understanding of our world. At the core of this journey is the role of scientific temper in building Bharat at 100, guiding us towards a future marked by knowledge, wisdom, and unity. The scientific method and philosophy interact with spirituality, providing a framework for inquiry and understanding that transcends boundaries. Through the lens of neuroscience, we explore the biological underpinning of spiritual experiences, unlocking the mysteries of the brain, mind, and consciousness. Spiritual practices play a crucial role in promoting holistic well-being, integrating body, mind, and spirit. Today, we delve into these interconnected fields, aiming to inspire, engage, and challenge each other, forging a path towards a harmonious and enlightened future. Did you know that meditation can physically change the structure of the brain? Or that scientific temper has been a cornerstone of India's journey towards innovation and development? These insights highlight the profound connection between science and spirituality. There are scientific laws which govern the body and the brain, and there are spiritual laws that govern the mind and the soul. Together, the scientific and spiritual constitute the universal laws, better referred to as the universal principles, which govern the whole of existence. The physical manifestation of these principles have come to evolve in the magnificent creation of the largest peace dome in the World Peace Dome, situated in Pune, Bharat. For the first time in the known human history, this architectural marvel, created by an eminent educationist and proponent of world peace, Vishwadharmi, Professor Dr. Vishwanath D. Karad, is being coined as the spiritually oriented scientific laboratory for world peace. Throughout this session, we will explore key takeaways and objectives. The role of scientific temper in shaping Bharat at 100. The synergy between scientific methods and spiritual philosophies. The neuroscience of spirituality. Understanding the relationship between brain, mind, and consciousness. And the impact of spiritual practices on holistic well-being. To guide our discussion, let's consider these questions. How can scientific temper contribute to the vision of Bharat at 100? What are the intersections between scientific methods and spiritual philosophies? How does neuroscience explain the effects of spiritual practices on the brain and consciousness? What is the relationship between the brain, mind, and consciousness from both scientific and spiritual perspectives? How can spiritual practices be integrated into modern life to promote holistic well-being? Let's explore the profound connection between science, scientific temper, and spirituality at NSRTC. Thank you for being part of this enlightening journey.
Our illuminaries of the galaxy of plenarization today have already arrived. They would be shortly available for the plenarization. We will be starting with understanding about their work and getting inspirations from them. We extend a warm welcome to Dr. T. Pradeep sir, Professor from IIT Madras, Chennai, at Dr. Vishwanath Karad, MIT World Peace University. We request him to be seated. So the time our dignitaries who have already arrived start providing us on their research work aspects, I would request the technical team to display the theme for artificial intelligence. Today we all are talking on self-operated plants, self-operated machines, and data science to machine learning to artificial intelligence is the progression that we are all envisaging. Probably the kind of opportunities they would get changed and lower skill jobs would get converted into higher skill jobs. However, there won't be any dearth of the jobs, which is guaranteed even by AI. AI tells us that you need to update yourself and upgrade yourself. So updating and upgrading is the mantra for 21st century, and AI gives us a preaching and teaching that let's practice towards that. Let's see what AI questions us during the first National Conference, Scientists Roundtable Conference, NSRTC 2024. Theme film on AI. This plenary session has been nichely crafted for all of us. As you know that the NSRTC was to begin with its inaugural function at 4 p.m. today, scheduled at the Swami Vivekanand Mandap Hall at MIT World Peace University campus. However, when such kind of luminaries are coming in our galaxies, it is our duty to extract the most possible, feasible, plausible learnings from these stalwarts in their own fields to ensure that the learnings happen, because MIT, with its 41 years of legacy, strives the best for becoming the first in many of the attempts. We are the one who started spiritual aspects in curriculum. We are the one who has a flag hoisting in the morning every day. We are the one who started teaching, not just preaching, on the peace-related aspects and courses drafted by the global peace leaders, including all religions, castes, creed, and ethnicities. We are the one who started implementing more laboratory sessions than any of the institution, even though we were affiliated. MIT always marks its footprint, the first and the very first in all endeavors, whether it could be the conglomeration of students coming in for learning on political aspects under the Bharatiya Chhatra Sansad. It could be training the leaders of villages with Sarpanch Sansad. It could be enhancing the empowerment of women, the Women Prowess celebration with National Women Parliament. It could be teaching and training on technologies for the MPs, MLAs, and MLCs with a very niche initiative, the National Legislative Council's meeting, NLC. We are the first. MIT always try to be the first in all efforts to implement successfully. And now, when we have seen that the Indian knowledge system becoming more prevalent, is giving more inspirations, we need to implement the thought processes to practicals. And an effort has been placed by our Executive President, Professor Rahul Karad sir, to start with the National Scientists Roundtable Conference 2024. Let's give a round of applause for this thought of our Executive President, Professor Rahul Karad sir. Today we have the luminaries for the plenary session available. We are blessed to have today the veterans in the field, Padma Shri Dr. G.D. Yadav sir, Padma Shri Dr. T. Pradeep sir, Professor Umesh Waghmare sir, Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar awardee, and an innovative entrepreneur, our philosopher and advisor from United States of America, Dr. Ashok Joshi sir. We extend a warm welcome to all these luminaries today. As the practice, the guests have offered their prayers at the statue of the Saint Naneshwara, and we have taken the blessings of the Almighty. It's time to take the blessings and light the lamp of divine. I request all the dignitaries, invitees, along with the authorities of MIT World Peace University, Vice Chancellor Sir, Pro Vice Chancellor Sir, CEO Dr. Kamtekar Sir, Dr. Bharat Kare Sir, and Dr. Murthy Sir to join for lighting of the lamp. Om Sahanavato Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejas Vina Varitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Let's come together, let's learn together, let's express the scientific temperament together, and let's light the divine knowledge lamp. Prajwalito Jnanamayaha Pradipaha. I request the dignitaries to light the lamp and initiate the first National Scientists Roundtable Conference 2024. The plenary sessions are being initiated with lighting the lamp of divine knowledge that bestow upon us the wisdom, peace, prosperity, and progress. We earnestly place Shri Saraswati Mata to empower us to envisage the vision of Viksit Bharat for India at 100, 2047. Let's applaud loudly for seeking the blessings of Saraswati Devi ji and lighting the divine lamp Prajwalito Jnanamayaha Pradeepaha. Thank you, Dr. G.D. Yadav sir, Dr. Pradeep sir, Dr. Umesh sir, Dr. Ashok Joshi sir, all the authorities. I request all of them to arrive on the dais. Dignitaries on the dais and dignitaries of the dais with a group photograph. These memories are going to be crafted specially in the scientific history of India and the world, with the efforts coming in from the scientists, 100 plus scientists coming on this campus today. I request them and invite on behalf of Dr. Vishwanath Karad, MIT World Peace University, to grace this occasion as the invitees and invite them on the dais. Dr. Ashok Joshi sir, Padma Shri Dr. T. Pradeep sir, Dr. Padma Shri G.D. Yadav sir, and Dr. Umesh sir, along with CAO. Sir, please grace the occasion. MIT World Peace University, trying to be the first in place, always set up certain traditions for holistic development of every learner and every member serving here. It serves more as a family rather than an institutional organization, and those roots could be found into its deeply rooted heritage and culture. Continuing that legacy of 41 years with MIT World Peace University, I would request all of you to stand to honor the nation for the national song Vande Mataram. We will have national song Vande Mataram, and after that we will be having the World Peace Prayer, which has been interpreted by Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karad sir. I place my heartiest request to you that please do not get seated until I request you. I request the technical team to play the national song Vande Mataram to initiate the plenary sessions. Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam, Sufalam, Malayaj Sheetalam, Shasya Shamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Shubhra Pulakitayamini, Pullakusumita Drumadala Shobhini, Suhasini, Sumadhura Bhashini, Sukhadam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram.
Now we will have the World Peace Prayer, which is interpreted by Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karad sir, which is not to specific religion, caste, creed, or ethnicity. So let's join our hands and pray to the Almighty for the world peace, the World Peace Prayer.
ॐ नमो जीयाद्या वेद प्रतिपाद्या जय जय स्वसंवेद्या आत्मरूपा देवातुति गणेषु सकलार्थमतिप्रकाशु म्हणे निवृत्तिदासु अवधारि गोदी गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Thank you, dignitaries on the dais, of the dais. I request all of them, please be seated and grace the occasion. As the apathy towards the Indian knowledge system is diminishing the glory of Indian National Congress, the Science Congress that we have, the National Scientists Roundtable Conference is gaining more and more wide applicability and generating interest among the leaders and the learners, particularly among the millennials and Generation Z, which are into the classes at present. To know more about what the NSRTC concept is and what we have, the platter and the menu on available for all of us, I invite Fellow of Royal Society of Chemistry, Professor Dr. Bharat sir, the National Convener of NSRTC 2024 and Director, the Center of Excellence Material Science at MIT World Peace University. Dr. Bharat sir for the introductory remarks on NSRTC 2024.
Very good morning to all. Respected Yadav sir, Joshi sir, Professor Pradeep, Professor Waghmare, Professor Vijay Mohanan, our Executive President Rahul ji, all the distinguished speakers, faculties, staff, students of MITWPU. I am delighted to welcome all of you and I sincerely thank you for being here today. MITWPU is one of the premier institutions of higher learning in India, offering diploma, undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD programs. It has strong physical, chemical sciences, life sciences, and all engineering disciplines, along with law, management, etc. It has more than 23,000 students, among which about 7,000 students are BTech, 950 for MTech, and 450 for PhD students. They are engaged in the research of advanced materials, polymers, 2D materials, devices, photonics materials, devices, energy generation and storage devices. bioengineering, biosensors, nanoformulations for pharma research, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and simulation facility. Our journey to organize this conference began with a discussion when Rahulji spoke to me about his dream of hosting a unique National Scientist Roundtable Conference that could foster multidimensional teamwork for scientific breakthroughs. Thus, this idea is nucleated by Rahulji and its growth is accelerated by Dr. Joshi. The theme of the conference were creatively designed by Mashalkar sir and Bhatkar sir. I further had a chance to discuss about this with Yadav sir during our meeting at IIT BHU, and I'm very grateful for his inputs. This is the first roundtable conference of Indian scientists on science and technology. Aim of this conference is to bring together leading academic, scientists, researchers, and research scholars to exchange and share their experience and research results about all aspects of physical sciences, life sciences, engineering and technologies. It also provides the premier interdisciplinary forum for scientists, engineers, and practitioners to present their latest results, ideas, developments, and application in the area of physical sciences, life sciences, and engineering and technology. My job was to bring everyone together, and happy to see the idea come to life. Thank you all for accepting our invitation and being here today. The conference themes are already outlined in the brochure, so I won't repeat them here. We have identified 8 themes and almost 120 scientists will be engaged in the roundtable discussions. The goal is to address challenges and create a focused roadmap of research for Viksit Bharat. This conference will also educate young faculty members and talented students in a progressive direction. Hope you will enjoy this scientific feast. Thank you very much and have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bharat Kale sir, the national convener of NSRTC 2024, for placing the initial remarks and describing the ideas of organizing NSRTC. With those conceptual understanding, let's now visually understand what NSRTC is going to provide as a platform for all of us to come together and to grow together. Right? So I request the technical team to release the curtain raiser film of the first National Scientist Roundtable Conference 2024.
Science is the magic that works, said writer Kurt Vonnegut. Science and technology have revolutionized the way we live, work, and interact with the world around us. From smartphones and laptops to airplanes, medical breakthroughs, and even moon landings, science and technology have enabled us to achieve feats once considered impossible. Welcome to the first National Scientist Roundtable Conference 2024 for Viksit Bharat 2047, hosted by Dr. Vishwanath Karad, MIT World Peace University in Pune, Bharat. Join us on July 19th, 20th and 21st in the dynamic hub of Pune, Maharashtra. Under the visionary leadership of our distinguished patrons and advisory committee, NSRTC 2024 brings together great minds from around the world, leading academics, scientists, researchers, and scholars to share their experiences and research in physical sciences, life sciences, engineering, and technology. This conference aims to ignite new ideas and inspire researchers, especially the budding young generation, to pursue fundamental research in emerging areas of science and technology. We will explore new ways of interdisciplinarity and international collaboration. Our objectives are clear: to inspire groundbreaking discoveries with sustainability, advance cutting-edge technologies, and creating an equitable, sustainable, and human-centric Viksit Bharat at 100, which will help us in setting a global example. At NSRTC 2024, we will delve into 8 critical themes: artificial intelligence, advanced materials and processing, agri-tech, biotechnology, healthcare, climate change, digital transformations, science, scientific temper, and spirituality. NSRTC 2024 is unique because it fosters new ideas and inspires the next generation of researchers. It's where innovation begins, collaborations form, and the scientific community takes bold steps into the future. Participants will gain fresh perspectives, innovative ideas, and become part of a network of thorough professionals. The impact of NSRTC 2024 will extend far beyond the
Sir, a professor of physics from IIT Madras. Dr. Pradeep sir is on the editorial boards of journals such as ACS, Nano, Chemistry of Materials, Analytical Chemistry, Chemistry of Communications, Nanoscale, and many more, including the ACS Sustainability Chemistry. He has been recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Research Award at IITM and Distinguished Alumnus Award at IISc. Padma Shri Professor T. Pradeep Sir, Professor of Physics, IIT Madras. Thank you, sir, for doing the honors, and we extend a warm welcome to Padma Shri Professor T. Pradeep Sir. Today we have with us Professor Umesh Waghmare, sir. He is the professor at Jawaharlal Nehru Center of Advanced Scientific Research, Government of India, Bengaluru. I request the authorities of MIT World Peace University to do the honors of Professor Umesh Waghmare, sir. Dr. Umesh Waghmare, sir, a recipient of the prestigious Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award in Science and Technology in 2010 and Infosys Prize in Engineering and Computer Science in 2015. The Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Awardee, which is present among us. Thank you, sir, for being here and gracing the first NSRTC. Thank you, Honorable VC sir, Pro VC sir, and CAO sir for doing the honors. Now it is to give a warm welcome to our philosopher and mentor, Professor Dr. Ashok Joshi sir. I request the dignitaries to welcome Professor Ashok Joshi sir. He is the founder of Microlean LLC in the United States of America and an eloquent speaker. Many a times he has guided us, and he is the pillar behind international collaborations of MIT World Peace University, stemming particularly from Utah, and Honorable Dr. Karad sir, along with the dignitaries visited at the Salt Lake City, the hospitality of Dr. Ashok Joshi sir. Thank you, sir, for being here and guiding us, being the luminary for the day. We are eagerly awaiting for your guidance in a short while. I thank all the dignitaries for receiving the honors from MIT World Peace University and request them to be seated. Anugrahitosmi Mahoday. Honorable Executive President, Professor Rahul Karad sir, because of the multiple engagements he has, he couldn't be here for the first plenary session. So on his behalf, he has extended a warm welcome to all the dignitaries. So we welcome you. Honorable Executive President has extended a warm welcome to all of you. We would be now moving towards knowing the scientific work that has been crafted out by the stalwarts in their particular fields. The first of them to let's know is Professor Dr. Ashok Joshi sir. I will take a minute for knowing about what are the contributions being explored. So my hearty request, because this is an important meeting, and these plenary sessions are going to be recorded in the history of the scientific collaborations and conglomerations in India shortly. So I request that let the audience who is sitting in our Vivekanand Hall, in addition to this hall, here we have only PhD students who are working full-time at MIT World Peace University, and other students and learners, they are awaiting for your addresses at other places as well as the live streaming. So for their information, Ayam nijaha poro veti ganana lagu chetasam udara charitanam vasudhaiva kutumbakam. The philosophy that the India cherishes. Today we have a multidisciplinary, multifaceted and multinational visionary, that is our Guruvar Dr. Ashok Joshi sir, who is here from the Utah, United States of America. Dr. Ashok Joshi sir is the founder of Microlean LLC in USA. The Microlean, let's understand how this contributes to the scientific world. It's developing a number of products in the areas of surface care, air care, and wound care. The few products are examples including sterilizing wipes, the portable sterilizers, high-level disinfection devices, and special disinfection mechanisms. Dr. Ashok Joshi sir is a well-recognized innovator and high-technology international entrepreneur. He has founded 3 companies and is an example of the acquisitions and mergers, which is the gig economy. Probably in next couple of decades, India would also try to practice. Dr. Joshi has almost 5 decades of industry experience, including 2.5 decades as an entrepreneurial one. He has more than 160 plus issued US patents. Moreover, he has many honors who has been decorated with different awards like Industrial Research Institute Washington Achievement Award in 2009 for his transformation of the Ceremonial Incorporation USA, which was struggling firm as a leading firm into the contract research business, which has seen 300% growth under the leadership of Dr. Ashok Joshi sir. In 2009, he has been awarded with the Asian of the Year by the Utah Asian Chamber of Commerce and was invited with the second State of Union address by the President of United States, Mr. Barack Obama, in 2009. Let's give a round of applause for such a prestigious luminary who has got such honors and been decorated there, and has also been awarded with the India's Small Business Entrepreneur Award by the President of India, Gyani Jail Singh ji, long back in 1983, along with the India's Parquet Award for Innovation. Let's join hands to welcome and extend a warm welcome to Dr. Ashok Joshi sir, our mentor and illuminator. I request him to grace the occasion and guide us about how NSRTC should progress and benefit to the learners. Dr. Ashok Joshi sir from Utah, United States of America.
Hello, good morning. So, thank you so much for reading my resume here. If anybody has any job for me, I would love to talk to them. Actually, about 8 months ago, I have just 5 minutes because I don't want to take these people's time. They are far more important speakers than I am. I'm actually feeling very shy to be sitting with these very important people. I don't know why I'm sitting there. But Kamtekar, Pandey, Chitnis, Kale forced me to sit there. So thank you, sir. 8 months ago, Rahul Karad just mentioned to me that he wants to do this National Scientist Roundtable Conference. I wasn't sure then. I said, for what? But Rahul is all about Viksit Bharat. He's all about Viksit Bharat. No other agenda in him. Look at what he has done. He has brought legislators together, Indian legislators, never done in India. He built National Students' Parliament, National Women's Parliament, on and on and on. He brought American educators and Indian educators together. And this is the third or fourth conference. He's all about Viksit, and I've been dealing with him for last 5 years. And I'm excited because my birth country is India. But what is Viksit Bharat? Viksit Bharat, in my opinion, is all about GDP. And when we say that India is the 5th economic power in the world, that does not really impress me. Is it 5th economic power based on GDP per capita? No. When you take GDP per capita, because we have to include all Bharat's citizens, then it is 125th in the nation, in the world. And so, That is what Rahul is all about. Can we get this GDP higher? And the only way to do it is through science and technology, because you can see in the past history that those nations who have very high GDPs per capita have done through science and technology. Because then you can develop products within the country and do the business all over the world to create value in our country, in it, India. My country is America, but birth country is here. So anyway, this vision of creating Viksit Bharat through science and technology really excites me. And with all the aspects of science taken into consideration, this conference is really the first, I believe, in India. And I may be wrong, but this is the first conference in India that is being done. So I just want to say this. I know that I want to hear these experts on about Viksit Bharat. So thank you so much again for giving me opportunity here to talk and put me on the pedestal here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashok Joshi, sir, for blessing us and giving the guidance, more popularly known as in AJ in United States. When he brings in so many experts from them, we are also feeling proud that one of our veteran philosopher and guide has such a prominence in the United States of America. Thank you, sir, from coming here, and continuous blessings to all of us. Under your mentorship, I'm sure the research culture and innovation culture, particularly at MIT World Peace University, shall be a multifold. Now, we will have the plenary sessions with the invited speakers. The first luminary is Professor Dr. G.D. Yadav, sir. संस्थाप्य मृण्मये पात्रे ताम्रपत्रम सुसंस्कृतम संयोगत जायते तेजो मित्रा वरुण सद्नितम. The Agastya Sanhita that provided us a precise way to develop an electric battery based upon which an electrolysis of water carried out, producing 1.138 volt and 23 megampere of current. Today we have with us an electrolysis man of India who has an innovator into the field of green hydrogen. I would like to you, before we have the film, to know more on him, and administrator, acclaimed administrator and researcher, the former vice chancellor. He is bringing in the future to all of us by the way of the copper chlorine methodology, green hydrogen around $1 per kg. I think let's applaud for the innovation he is bringing to all of us, and we look forward, sir, that maybe these learners few years later will start using fuel cell electric vehicles being run on the green hydrogen produced with your research. I request the technical team to play the film to introduce our honorable dignitary, Dr. G.D. Yadav, sir.
It is with great enthusiasm that we welcome a trailblazing scientist whose innovative approaches have reshaped the landscape of chemical engineering. Honorable Dr. Ganpati Yadav, former Vice Chancellor of the Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai, and Padma Shri awardee. Dr. Ganpati Yadav's illustrious career is marked by his groundbreaking work in chemical engineering and his visionary leadership in academia. As the former Vice Chancellor of Institute of Chemical Technology,
His efforts have led to significant advancements in research and education. His innovative research in green chemistry and catalysts has had a transformative impact, driving sustainable practices and technological advancements in the chemical industry. Dr. Yadav's dedication to scientific excellence and his commitment to fostering innovation have earned him numerous accolades, including the prestigious Padma Shri Award. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming our esteemed special guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Ganpati Yadav.
On the same dais, his guru, Professor M.M. Sharma sir, used to be here, and now we have his son for acclamation, Professor Dr. Ganpati Yadav sir. I invite Padma Shri Dr. Yadav sir to provide the plenary session of first NSRTC 2024. Dr. G.D. Yadav sir.
Hello.
Good morning. Namaskar. Dear fellow colleagues, Dr. Pradeep, Dr. Waghmare, Dr. Joshi, Dr. Chitnis, Dr. Pandey, and many other distinguished guests here. I'm indeed humbled that I'm asked to open the Batney. So what I'm going to do is just look at the title. How do you achieve sustainability? Everybody talks of net zero goal. I'm talking about net negative goal. And that is where hydrogen is going to be the savior of this world. Instead of crude oil, we'll have carbon dioxide as the new oil, and hence the refinery is based on carbon dioxide. Also, how to convert waste biomass into chemicals, fuels, and materials, because crude oil will be exhausted by 2050. And of course, plastic is a bad word in today's world. I will tell you how to valorize plastic, waste plastic in particular, and how hydrogen is going to be the savior. So, everybody knows about the Paris Agreement in 2015. United States did not sign the agreement, although 195 nations signed it. Because US said, if we curtail our carbon dioxide emissions, our economy will go down. So everybody had a vested interest in their own economy. So look at this slide particularly, and look at the last two numbers there. 16 July 2023, first of all, in 2020, the carbon dioxide concentration was 410 ppm. And you know that practically there was no activity during the year, but still we added 2 ppm. And that time the world's capacity of refinery was 97.4 million barrels a day. Today it has gone to 102 million barrels a day. And you see now, last year 425.79 ppm. Today, it is gone down a little bit, 421.99. So typically, yearly change was 3.8 ppm, and they said this should not be more than 2 ppm. And the calculation based on for 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2100 are on these numbers. And remember, during this particular period, particularly in 2020, 35.6 gigatons, that is billion tons of carbon dioxide is emitted. But is that number good enough?
And if you look at the relative progress, during 1880 to 1920, 1.4 degrees Celsius temperature, was, enhanced by carbon dioxide. So, and you know what is happening today. Floods, droughts, temperature wave, whatnot, and these are the numbers. You can see, you can identify your own city there in this picture. And what is important is that 3+ degree temperature rise will be unbearable for all of us. Remember this. That means we have to develop technology yesterday, not even tomorrow. That is the situation. And I was in Delhi in May, and the temperature was 52 degrees. And they said the sensors are wrong. Only one sensor can be wrong, not all sensors. So we are fooling ourselves. That is one thing. And today's economic times, I'm telling you, this is today's news. Energy world. India cuts crude imports by 5.1%, good for India. But the next is India to boost electronic sector, creating 6 million jobs, good for India. And the last one, India surpasses China in steel development. India is number 2 in steel today, 130 million metric tons. China is 300 million metric tons. In 2030, we want to be 300 million metric tons, 2050, 500 million metric tons. And 1 ton of steel produces 2.38 tons of carbon dioxide. So what it means, the analysis of this headline today shows less CO2, more CO2, more CO2. And this is what we are arguing at. So whatever we do, that CO2 levels has to be brought down. So what is that number and what we should develop? If one technology creates a problem, because this is a problem because of the carbon use. This is another deadly news last year in May. That is World Meteorological Organization. And what did they say? 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature rise, which we said for the entire, century, will be surpassed by 2027. In other words, what we saw today, or this year particularly, is going to be even horrendous in 2027. So India should try to develop its own technology. 1.43 billion people, we cannot rest on the Western laurels. We have to develop our own technology. So this news was last year in May 18. And look, so what are these net zero? Because this is, everybody talk about net zero. India says 2070. China says 2060. Rest of the advanced world says 2050. What does it mean? Hydrogen technologies. We have to develop hydrogen, green hydrogen. Carbon dioxide will be the new oil. We have to do decarbonization of economy, biomass valorization, solid waste management, waste plastic recycling, water as a privilege. Water cannot be, something else. Circular economy and recycle engineering. I tell my chemical engineering students, you will have more jobs in future than you have today, because chemical engineering will be renamed as recycle engineering. And we have to have a systems engineering approach. So I'm telling, think negative. Normally the sadhus and sons and boas and bhavas says, think positive. I'm telling, think negative. What I mean is think of negative. That is carbon negative energy sources and material sources. We require carbon in the soil, whether in the form of biochar or anything else. We require carbon for our living, but we don't require carbon in the air. So this is where the so-called sustainable development goals come into picture. And we have to look at the society as a whole, economy as a whole, and environment and climate change. And these were the 8 verticals we thought of this particular conference, this roundtable. Okay? So, and we also talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Do you know what is the meaning of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? Our Prime Minister always talks about it, but actual slok is little different. What it says, Ayam nijaha paro veti ganana lagu chetasam udara charitanam tu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The small mind thinks of only one, myself. Or you may think of yourself. But we think of the world. So this is what it is. This is mine, that is yours, but we say everything is ours, the whole world is ours. This is where these carbon negative technologies must be developed. That is the real meaning of that sloka. So we will talk about so-called green economy, bioeconomy, bio-based economy, circular economy. So biomass, when we don't have any crude oil, biomass will be our biggest source of chemicals and materials. And these days, everybody is talking about that, sustainability and biomass. So ladies and gentlemen, so I told this, I gave a seminar to CII. It's a very big body. And I said, you appoint a SID. What is SID? That is Sustainability and Innovation Director on all boards of, they should think of sustainability, okay, and net zero and go beyond that. So Sustainability and Innovation Director, and that is, I deliberately call it Siddh. Siddha is a Sanskrit word, means perfected one. That person must give the vision to the company. So, and of course, it is dynamic and human and accomplished person should be appointed. Perhaps many of you know which is called Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. Scope 1 is typically concerned with the manufacturing activities, but somebody is supplying it, somebody is taking it away. So our approach must be all these three scopes must be included in technology development, okay? And sometimes companies talk about this ESG, and there are many seminars held, and I must have addressed quite a few of them. So every stakeholder from top to the bottom in the management must think of it. The small person, even the peon in the office must talk about ESG and sustainability. So this is where the sustainability of energy, materials, whether it is gas, liquid, solid, everything has to be reused. We have to have waste minimization program and then talk about. So this is where our Honorable Prime Minister's Viksit Bharat concept comes to. That is, we want to be developed. Most of the time we make mistakes when we predict something. We start from here and go to 2047. That is a wrong approach. Be there in 2047, we would be this number 1 or number 2 nation in the world and come back and what changes we should make in our education, technology development, research, innovation. That is what must be done in order to become a Viksit Bharat. Then only we can be $30 trillion economy, not otherwise. So look for goals of 2047. The manufacturing sector must grow at 25%. And even if you cumulatively, you grow at 9%, that cumulative effect will be 25%, okay? And the service sector must grow at something like 70%. Pharma is going to be a big boost for our country. And so you can imagine, so this is my view for Viksit Bharat at 2047 with 30 trillion, this is my view. Manufacturing must grow at 25%, service sector at 70%, corporate social responsibility must be 3% instead of 2%. Then we don't need government support. Our industries can support research and innovation in higher education. That is what is required. Then the so-called, ANRF, whatever government is calling, that become a reality, not otherwise. And also I say, SIR, sir, that is students' internship responsibility. Every company must recruit students. They must give the decent stipend to them, and that should be 0.2%. Then only we'll have a better trained manpower. And of course, free education to girls till PhD. Now the ladies may be happy what I'm saying this, but according to me, if girls are educated, they will not get married early. They will not have more than 2 children. Sometimes they may not have any. And then in 2 generations, India will be a great nation. It does not mean that all girls will become PhD. It means there is an avenue for girls to go. Parents will not stop them at SCC, right? And all 50% population is girls, right, on an average. So in every home, there is somebody who is benefited. Even the richest, Ambani's daughter also can get free education. So this is what we should do. And remember this interesting part. We are talking about net zero. You know that only 73% countries have net zero goals. 27% do not have because either they are economically poor or they don't have technology. And in that 73%, 25% is America, 12% is 25% is China, 12% is USA, 7% is European Union, and 29% India is included in that. And what is India's contribution to carbon dioxide emissions? Look at this. Although we stand number 4 here, we are number 3 if you take the EU out of it. And we emit right now 2.622 trillion, that is billion tons, gigatons of carbon dioxide, and that has to be zero by 2070. So giving a long rope, 2070 is a bad idea. We must also say that our industry should reduce this carbon dioxide emissions by 2050 like the rest of the world is doing. Then only we'll have a cushion of 20 years. That is where the planners must think on that. Okay? So in other words, what it means, we cannot have 35.6 tons, which is now billion tons. It has to be less than 10 billion tons per year. So our target is not, so that is net zero. So no carbon should be used as a source of energy. You have solar energy, wind energy, geothermal, nuclear, hydrogen, but not carbon. Carbon should be used as a feedstock. So even though our government said that we will have bioethanol policy and we will mix 5, 10, 15, 22%, it's a bad idea, I'm telling you that. We can have it for some time so that our import reduces, but by 2035, we should have carbon-free energy sources. So this is what I'm talking about. So, and decarbonization, it is not only the transport, the shipping industry is very important contributor, 5%. You have buildings, we have agriculture, and name anything which is also contributing to carbon dioxide. So carbon-based economy is the real reason for this global warming. And that's what we are seeing everywhere. So that is the culprit. So what we do, we have an oil refinery. Okay, oil refinery, today we produce about 105 million tons of hydrogen. This is required. 36 million tons hydrogen is consumed by refineries. That is the so-called greenhouse gas, okay? And when you consume, when you use biomass, that is carbon neutral. That is so-called net zero. That is not a good idea, as I told you before. So what we should do? We have to have everything. So we must have material recycling, zero waste cities, zero waste society. So Indian industry has a tremendous scope to contribute to this and become the world's leader in energy. Okay? So this is, otherwise we'll require 3 Earths for a linear economy. And at the same time, we are using solar panels, we are using wind turbines and plastics and batteries and everything, construction and debris material. We have to think of reusing that. We cannot put it somewhere and increase the load by municipal solid waste. 50% of that is biomass and 10 to 12% is plastic. So you can see, we started this solar energy policy in the year 2000 across the world. Now their life is over. So you will have millions of tons of solar panels, million tons of wind blades, wind blades are something like 240 meters long. You can imagine, they use the best of the composite materials, rare earths, metals, whatnot. So, and then battery recycling. Batteries, when they go, the capacity goes to 80%, it is useless for EV. And if you are using your electricity by using coal-based power plants, it is CV, it is not EV. We are cheating ourselves. The pollution is done somewhere else, not in your city. So we have to have a systems engineering approach. So 80% battery life, that means it can be used for storage. Okay? And China is number 1. By 2030, China will have 45 billion business. Next is America. So India, I jokingly say, Bhangarwalas will have a lot of business. The persons who are selling, West, they will have a lot of business. At the same time, look at the carbon dioxide which is coming from, this solid waste treatment. This will be something like 2.38 billion tons by 2050. So, and the other problem with us is stubble burning. Our farmers are burning stubble left and right. They think that carbon will go there, the pest will die. It's a wrong idea. So they are burning the well something like 350 million metric tons. It is a big source of chemicals and materials. So we can increase the farmers' income by hydrogenation and hydrogenolysis. So I said, like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, solar energy, wind energy, and hydrogen energy. And I put hydrogen energy at the top. because it is going to be the real savior. Hydrogen can be used, so biomass waste. And so we must have agricultural waste societies, like our cooperative sugar societies, okay, kachara societies. So there will be no burning, no pollution. So you can see how many types of agri-waste is being burned by the farmers. So farmers, biomass cooperative societies for densification of the biomass, transport, and this is where the scope 3 comes into picture, okay? So we can see, and water is a privilege, remember, water is a privilege. Water cannot be treated. So we have to have rainwater harvesting, we must have collection of water, use of water, water recycling, literally the so-called ZLD, zero liquid discharge. Factories must do that. No government bodies allow you to increase the quota of water. They say use it. You can increase production, but no more water. So if you look at the world's energy scenario, in 2050, we'll have requirement of 49,000 terawatt hours. My advice to our government, at least 20% of this must be produced by India. So our target was some 500 gigawatt by 2030. We should say that it should be 900 gigawatt, and we produce 10,000 terawatt hours. That will be 20% of the energy. India should be an energy exporting nation rather than importing. So today's headline, which I mentioned, is with that respect, okay? So, and there will not be any crude oil by that time, remember, in 2050. So this is my new trinity, solar, wind, and hydrogen, okay? So why? So hydrogen, because hydrogen can be used for a variety of purposes, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, green ammonia, transportation sector, upgrading of bio-oil, okay, and name it, steel industry. And the projected hydrogen demand ranges between 540 to 813 million metric tons. That means hydrogen sector is going to grow. Better be. So what our government should do, although I am a chairman of one of the committees, I'm telling you that we have to increase production by giving incentive to our industry. The policy will matter a great deal, this energy security, okay? So this is, some of the ideas. So current hydrogen market, $1 is the price. They say $1, so there is something called 111. $1 for 1 kg in 1 decade. That is the idea. So what we do, say electrolyzers, 50 kilowatt hour for 1 kg. That is what everybody says. So even if you give free electricity, the electrolyzers, we can have 100% efficiency, $2.61. We did the thermodynamic calculation. That means no time, green hydrogen will be less than $3.5. No time. And we are talking about $1. So this is where the green, blue, and gray hydrogen, green means standard, gold standard, water splitting, no carbon use, okay? Blue means capture 90% of carbon dioxide, that will be blue. And gray is what we are doing. So refineries produce green, this so-called gray hydrogen by steam reforming of methane, which gives 11 tons of carbon dioxide per ton of hydrogen. They are highly polluting, okay? And there is something called turquoise hydrogen. That is, you have pyrolysis of methane, you produce carbon, you can make nanotube and whatever, but the other part is hydrogen, okay? Very recently, last year in fact, there was a news in CNN. What they said, that they found some natural hydrogen that is called white hydrogen. And that ranges anywhere between 6 million tons to 250 million tons. And they say that can be produced at $1.5. So anyway, this is interesting time. But still we require, but very interesting part, our MNRE, what they said, they redefined hydrogen, green hydrogen. They said 2 kg of carbon dioxide per kg of hydrogen. So I objected to that. I said, you can give incentive for reducing CO2, but don't change the definition, like changing definition of Avogadro number because you don't like 23 power, okay? That is not the way to do it. Science should not be changed. Policy can be changed, okay? So there are many things, hydrogen production technology. I won't go into the details of that, but most of these are based on this variety of things. And one of the things is that people talk about this so-called electrolyzers. Alkaline, anion exchange, proton exchange, this is talked a lot. Solid oxide fuel cells. The problem with this is, that they have a lot of problems, electrolyzers. So you cannot make, by electrolyzers, you cannot make hydrogen in less than $1. I can assure you that. And so we have to think out of box. So like, for example, hydrogen from biomass, this is talked about, but the carbon dioxide, this is carbon neutral, okay, when you say biomass. Similarly, there is a case lignocellulosic biomass, okay, by different methods. Then you can gasify biomass either by carbon dioxide or air or oxygen or steam, get hydrogen. Or for example, waste biomass. 50% of our municipal solid waste is food. So we can use that. So hydrogen can be produced from bioalcohols. We did a lot of experiments. We got several patents and we have published this. But what is interesting is this, that which we have been working on this since 2006. 310 reported cycles are there. We did not invent the cycle, but we invented, changed the methodology. We got several patents. So we did sulfur iodine, and now we do copper chlorine, and our plant is running in Goa. Meanwhile, our Ministry of Power said that 50% of our energy by 2030 will come from renewables. 45% carbon dioxide will reduce by then. In other words, water and air will be our feedstock. Split water, get hydrogen and oxygen, then take nitrogen from here, make green ammonia, make anything you like. So that is what is going to happen. So synthesis and application of green ammonia. So green ammonia can be used wherever you use hydrogen, okay? The only problem, if you burn hydrogen, you get NOx. So therefore, you have to split it on site, make it again hydrogen and nitrogen, and use that hydrogen for whatever purpose, whether it is fuel cell or IC engines. So we developed this technology. I have been claiming through simulations and all, if I produce 1 ton per day, my cost is $11. If I produce 100 tons per day, my cost can come down to $1. Okay, so this is the 111 target of United States Department of Energy. And those who are cricket lovers, our country is crazy about cricket. 111 is called the Nelson's eye. That means you get out on that. So this 111 has also some, scientific meaning and philosophical meaning. Are you going to get out? Because we cannot get 111. So and the cost of this gray hydrogen, $2 to $2.5. So you can see that this particular slide tells you what we have been doing in ICT, in my group. So we take solar power, we store energy in molten salts, and that energy is used for splitting water. It's a copper chlorine cycle. I won't go into the details of that, but we have converted carbon dioxide to methane, higher hydrocarbons, LPG, methanol, dimethyl ether, formic acid, name it. We did many, many experiments. And one of the things is that this week, compared my process with others. Because you have to compare. Because I'm an engineer, so I must compare technology with others. What is available in the market? You can see that if you use coal can be used. It produces 19 tons of carbon dioxide per ton of hydrogen. So we did that. We say ours is less than $1. And Honorable Nitin Gadkari mentioned this work in Rajya Sabha on 6th of December. Because he said, Dr. Yadav, he has seen our plant and what we have. Very interestingly, on 6th February this year, our plant was inaugurated in Goa, and the Minister of State was present there. These are my students and some of these ONGC. ONGC is my partner in this technology development. And you can see that my students are still working over there. And so, of course, ONGC chairman also came later on. So if there is no fossil fuel, what we do? And this is the incentive. US government gives $3 per kg. Our government, I have been telling this in many conferences. So they announce this 50 rupees, 40 rupees, 30 rupees. Quite honestly, and corresponding to stoichiometry, but what is important is we must give 150 rupees incentive. Then we can become a producer and export and get more money through foreign exchange. Government has to change its policy. So if there is a carbon dioxide can be used as a pure feedstock. We can make variety of things. We can make urea, you can make methanol, you can make dimethyl ether. Of course, we can also make small chemicals, but that is not going to use. Carbon dioxide is 36.4 billion tons. And methanol, our Niti Aayog is talking about methanol policy. Methanol can be used as a feedstock for variety of chemicals. So is the case with dimethyl ether. We reviewed this, we published many articles. So our integrated technology, which we say, we have been claiming, so we announced it, expression of interest. 26 companies showed interest, including 3 foreign companies. So this carbon dioxide to methane and to higher hydrocarbons, because LPG can be, dimethyl ether can be used as a substitute for LPG and diesel. And we said that we can do it. So ONGC is partner, and now 3 companies we have chosen. We are doing 5 tons per day. There are 2 factories we have chosen in Europe, in Uttar Pradesh. And then dimethyl ether, Godavari biorefineries, they produce 300 tons. Now they are producing 500 tons per day of carbon dioxide. So they are joined hands with me, and we are going to sell this technology as a joint venture. And carbon dioxide to methanol, 5 tons per day. We are now building up a plant on this. So you can imagine, so when you see petroleum refinery, when petroleum is exhausted, it is going to be the so-called biorefinery. In petroleum, benzene, toluene, xylene, butanes, that is the feedstock. Here the other way around. And you have to defunctionalize. So it means functionalization versus defunctionalization. Therefore, biorefinery will be more expensive. Okay, so integrated biorefinery, we can produce multiple products. I won't go into the details of this. This is just to show you that the prowess of catalysis, prowess of system engineering approach, nothing is to be taken as a waste, but everything is to be taken as a something. So water splitting once again becomes very important, because you can see how many things we can do with cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. Lignin is burnt as a in the co-generator, which is a bad idea again. I always say that I can produce sugar without having a sugar cane. Okay, that is C5 and C6. So this is what happens. We can have C5 from semicellulose, and then lignin can be used to produce even benzene, toluene, xylene. The current refined is what they are doing. And so we wrote a very big paper. Actually, we submitted it to Nature, but the Nature guy said these Indians are claiming too much. So we published somewhere else, because sometimes you belong to India, they think you are substandard. This is the unfortunate part of it. The Americans think they are very smart in comparison with us. But that's not the case. What I'm trying to tell you, we published 14,000 downloads for this article. Many bureaucrats contacted me, including USA and Canada. Dr. Yadav, what you say is correct. And I said that crude oil, this will be the new business, and let us do this in the case of this biomass and hydrogenation, hydrogenolysis, oxidation, and whatnot. So we can have lignocellulosic biomass, xylose, glucose, lignin, aromatics, name everything. And quite interestingly, hydrogen plays the most important role in all these processes. That means catalysis. That means reaction engineering, multi-phase reactors, and whatnot. So the basic question is this. We are producing ethanol, bioethanol. Our government is promoting that. Most of the countries, including Brazil. But is it a good idea? So we did calculations. We said that let us take 1 kg of crude oil. It will give me 32 megajoule of fuels plus 0.2 kg of chemicals. This is a standard refinery. But if I take 1 kg of biomass, I get only 6 megajoules of energy, or 0.8 kg of chemicals. So we calculated based on that 97.4 million barrels per day. That is 250 barrels per second. If I convert 100% biomass, I get only 10 barrels per second. And if I convert that into chemicals, 320 barrels per second. Look, any businessman, I may talk about green chemistry and engineering. He's not interested in that green. He's interested in the green currency, dollar. If you give him more dollar, he will support your research. So common sense tells me better to make chemicals than burn carbon as a fuel. So we said bioethanol, I can make 11 different major chemicals. Total 30 chemicals I can make on ethanol. So why not make chemicals rather than burning it? So carbon should not be burned as a fuel. That is a message. So that is where I'm talking about carbon negative technologies. Another problem, taboo, is plastic. During our COVID, plastic saved millions of lives. But did you ever give credit to plastic? Why? Because you have been brainwashed by people and NGOs and that plastic is bad, bad, bad. I will tell you exactly contrary view to that. And what is that? Plastic ban is not the solution. If you ban anything in a country, more liquor is sold in the state where there is a liquor ban. And who makes money? The authorities, the municipal officers, the excise fellows and all others, they make more money, police. And there are a lot of deaths, right? In Tamil Nadu, so many people died, you know that. So why it is happening? Because we are banning. Banning is not a solution. If one technology creates a problem, another technology must solve it. So ban, no ban. Plastic ban, single-use plastic ban is a bad idea. I'm telling you that publicly. You can quote me. So what should be done? Have you ever seen a housewife throwing the newspaper outside? Used newspaper? Never. She will collect it and sell it. In fact, the raddi is more valuable than the content in the newspaper. You will realize it. Correct? Because you can get a lot of money. I don't read that so-called Pune Times or Mumbai Times. It is kachra only, right? So why read it? Our idea that waste means zero value is a wrong idea. Waste has a value. So what should we do? What should we do? So I say, if we have a waste plastic problem, SUV pollution is due to the free and cheap availability of plastic. What happened? Plastic was introduced as a substitute for paper because papers, denuded the forest. Plastic was a substitute, but the plastic became thinner and thinner and thinner and stronger. The bhaiya started giving it free sabji bag. Okay, madam, take 2 more bags. Doesn't matter because he says it is free. So you also get it free and throw it somewhere. But supposing he had said, madam, this is 10 rupees or 20 rupees, irrespective of thickness. They say 50 micron. Do you go with a measuring scale there and say measure and 50 micron it should be written? It's stupidity. Common sense says that is a stupidity. What you should do, have a barcode. You buy the plastic bag here, I can return in Mumbai, suppose 20 rupees. I will get my 20 rupees back. If I am lazy, somebody else will come to my house in the morning, take it back, take 5% commission. Plastic pollution and segregation cost 80% money. As a technologist, I'm telling you. So don't give anything free. You go for many marriages, right? Or parties. All sorts of nice dishes, good-looking dishes. You are tempted to take it. And you don't like it, so throw it. 50% of the food is wasted. Supposing there was a bowl kept there and said, sir or madam, add 100 rupees in this bowl before you touch this dish, your wife will not allow you to touch it because she knows you are not eating at home. Right? Because there you are paying for the garbage which you generate. So, and at the end of the marriage event, give all money, whatever you collect to the bride and groom. That is a gift to them. Jokes apart, what I'm trying to tell you is waste should not be treated as zero value. Waste has to be treated. So we have to encourage recycling. So this bottle, for example, if this has 20 rupees deposit on that, after we go, these bottles will disappear. I'm telling you that. Somebody will collect it and give. There will be segregation at the source. That is what our government should do. And the next important part is waste plastic recycling, whether it is chemolysis, pyrolysis, gasification, name it. We are doing a lot of work in my laboratory. So you can see this is what you can do. Or most importantly, hydrogenation of waste plastic, including the all mixture, is the best solution. Right? That is the best solution. So what it happens? You get hydrocarbons, which is a source for your chemicals and fuel. So you have two policies. Plastic pollution, which is likely to happen in the past, and what happened in the past or what is going to happen in the future. In the future, we can stop, past we can collect and go on. We are giving so much of cess, right, to the government. Where is that money going? Why it is not being used to develop technology? So, I wrote articles also that waste plastic recycling through chemical recycling is the best solution for plastic pollution. Okay. And so, same is the case with steel industry. I mentioned 2.38 tons. Use green hydrogen. Steel industry, and we will be number 2 in the world. 500 million tons is 2050 target. And so once you accept hydrogen as a green hydrogen as a solution, there will be also blue hydrogen. That will solve our problems. Okay, and so acceptance by society is very important. So hydrogen is safer than fossil fuels. It is 14 times lighter than air. And there are better sensors available now. So you can look at it. Hydrogen is safer than conventional fuels. So ultimately, I will quote Swami Vivekananda ji. Each work has to pass through 3 stages: ridicule, opposition, and then acceptance. Hydrogen will be accepted as the savior of the world. That is going to happen. So mark my words, hydrogen will be the savior. So the way forward is we have to have SID. I mentioned what is that SID on every board. Green hydrogen will be the savior of the world. Carbon dioxide will be our new resource of oil. Then we can have waste biomass, as a source of chemicals and materials. And, ultimately I must thank all my students who have been working in my lab for a number of years. And of course, ONGC Energy Center and DST and for giving me the National Science Chair and whatnot. Ladies and gentlemen, normally no questions are asked to the speaker in the plenary section, but I allow you to ask me questions. Do you have any questions? Yeah, your organizer is looking at you. That means there is no question. Dr. Kale, is it okay? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Padma Shri Dr. G.D. Yadav sir, for introducing us on a wonderful spectrum of hydrogen, the black, the gray, the brown, the blue, the turquoise, and now the green hydrogen. And the spectrum comes here. Sir, we need your blessings for our Green Hydrogen and New Energy Research Center established at MIT World Peace University. And I'm happy to share you that with the initiation of the management of MIT World Peace University, the center has been established to work into the research aspects. Thanks for that illumination. I request Professor Malhari Kulkarni sir to express the gratitude from NSRTC Forum towards Dr. G.D. Yadav sir. Dr. Malhari Kulkarni sir, Professor of Materials from Department of Chemical Engineering.
Thank you, Professor Joshi. Hello, everyone. I'm just finding myself a little bit difficult. Guru Purnimecha, in advance Shubhecha from Malhari Kulkarni sir, G.D. Yadav sir, thank you so much. This is called ICT culture. If you see the last photo, how many students were there? Almost 40. And that is the identity of Dr. GDY. Hats off to you. Very well connected with industries. And please remember, we are, as a young entrepreneur or scientist or a student, we should love techno-commercial line, because ultimately green money matters, because we talked about green energy. So thank you so much on behalf of MIT World Peace University. I extend our heartfelt gratitude for your enlightening talks. Professor G.D. Yadav sir, thank you once again. I will not take much more time because we are waiting for another 2 more scientists to express their views. Thank you once again. It's a fantastic 45 minutes, and you gave us a very excellent understanding that don't call any material as a waste, respect that waste, make very good out of that. Again, your talk has certainly created a fantastic impact on our minds and probably motivated everyone of our MIT World Peace students, faculty, researchers. Thank you once again. Thank you so much. Over to Ratnadeep Joshi sir.
Thank you, Professor Malhari sir, for the expression of gratitude towards Padma Shri Dr. G.D. Yadav sir. The third illuminary after Dr. Ashok Joshi sir and Dr. G.D. Yadav sir, today we have is Professor T. Pradeep sir, and he would be speaking on can water micro droplets make soil. As I talked in the initiation, this is going to set up a different milestone in the history of mankind, because if we could create it as such. The Chandogya Upanishad says that Yatha Saumyakena mrutpindena sarvam runmayam vijnanam. It means if we know a particle of soil, we can understand the whole chemistry of it. The professor of chemistry at IIT Madras, Professor Dr. T. Pradeep, is with us today to illuminate us and guide us on the topic, can the water microdroplets make the soil? I extend a warm welcome to Padma Shri Professor Dr. T. Pradeep sir to share on the historian research he has worked out at IIT Madras to speak on how can we create artificial soil. Over to you, Padma Shri Dr. T. Pradeep sir.
What a pleasure to be here. Professor Yadav talked about greatest or the most needed technologies for Viksit Bharat. Viksit Bharat for me is also greatest high quality science. While we do fascinating technology, translating our society, we must continue to do science at the cutting edge, where we feel the excitement of discovery. Years ago, when I was just getting into my independent research, I had no infrastructure. And I used to go to my teacher, Professor C.N.R. Rao, those years of struggle, and he would ask me, "Why have you come?" I would hold his hand and tell him that, "Sir, I came to smell science." I used to go all over the world to smell science. Today, I'm so glad to tell you that people come to my lab too to smell science. I want to tell you an example of that science which would, at one point in time, very soon in future, may not take up to 2047, we could make soil in the laboratory. And this is about confined matter. Confined matter is everywhere. And one such thing that you see is bubbles. Fascinating. Beautiful colors. And this is essentially molecules in action. You can have confinement of many kinds. Professor Yadav talked about catalysis. And this is about also confined matter most of the time. And without that confined matter and catalysis, you are not going to address or not going to solve problems of sustainability he talked about. I look at matter in confinement, largely electronic confinement. Kindly keep silence. So we look at matter. I'm also a professor, so it is matter in confinement for us is always, for a long time, has been electronic confinement. But matter can also be geometrically confined. And I'm going to talk to you about such confined matter as in micro droplets. And that gave a new research result. It was published a month ago in this journal called Science. What we showed in that paper was that if you have micro droplets of water, these micro droplets of water can break natural quartz in the form of this river sand to nanoparticles. So you see, rocks or pieces of rocks can be converted to nanoparticles in micro droplets by a process called electrospray. This is a fascinating discovery, and these micro droplet induced transformation could have tremendous impact in understanding origin of life, in understanding, contributing to creating new kinds of soil, in enriching soil, unfertile soil, augmenting soil fertility, and a whole lot of related things. You know, people have been concerned about or interested in understanding origin of soil. I told you about, in micro droplets, micron-sized particles of rocks getting converted to nanoparticles. Micron is 10 to the power minus 6 meters. Nano is 10 to the power minus 9 meters. So it is like a reduction of 1,000 times. 10 to the power minus 6 to 10 to the power minus 9. This is like a meter becoming a millimeter. A meter to a millimeter is 10 to the power 3. Okay? So this is 1,000 times reduction in size. If you look at a rock, such as a giant, this particular rock is called giant rock in America. This is 22 meters tall, some meters. And you know, it takes millions of years for this rock to become sand, 1 millimeter size grain of sand. So this is a meter becoming a millimeter in millennia. What I just showed you was a micron-sized particle of several tens of micron-sized particles of rock becoming nanoparticles, a reduction of 1,000 times in just 30 milliseconds. So this is rapid transformation of rock to soil. How is it happening? Well, before I get to this, I should give you a brief introduction to what is this kind of science is about. So we have been working on a subject called, or area called, functional nanomaterials. Well, many different kinds of methodologies we use to create such things. One such methodology is using microdroplets. So what are these microdroplets? You just go outside. Well, now it is raining. You just go outside or stand just by the side of sea, and you get mist coming onto your skin. And these are aerosols, and often the aerosols are tens of micrometer size water droplets. So microdroplets are everywhere, very common. And this comes from your nostrils, right? These are aerosols. And you can use these aerosols or microdroplets to synthesize materials. So we make nanoparticles using these microdroplets. We also make, these are called zero-dimensional materials. We can also make one-dimensional materials. We can also make two-dimensional materials. We can also make three-dimensional materials. droplets. We make materials of different kinds, starting from micro droplets. Sometimes, in those micro droplets, if you put nanoparticles of different sizes and shapes, such as gold nanoparticles and gold nanorods, we know that they phase separate. As you can see, the nanorods are outside, and within the inside you have nanoparticles. So we know this kind of transformations occur. We study this by microscopy in great detail in our laboratory. We also ask this question, in a microdroplet, which is used for that synthesis, can you transform materials? Not only make materials, a made material, can it transform? One experiment that we did is this one, that is a collection of differently sized nanoparticles, which is what you make, what is called polydispersed nanoparticles. You put it through a setup. This is called an electrospray setup. You have a suspension of these particles. You apply a potential, and through a tiny, tiny hole, which is a micrometer size hole, this liquid comes out in the form of a jet, in the form of droplets. And if you put a plate at the bottom at a distance, you can collect these materials on the surface. You can use it to study what this material is. You go to a laboratory, you do transmission electron microscopy. What do you find? Well, what we found was that these polydispersed particles that we took there, it became extremely monodispersed at the bottom. In this particle, there are millions of chemical bonds, or maybe thousands of chemical bonds in smaller particles, becoming something. You know, because all these chemical bonds are broken and rearranged, and something else is getting formed. So one day, I asked one of my students, what if you are making these, breaking these things? Why not you, these particles, why not you break a rock itself? What limits you from breaking a rock? So the question was, in a droplet, can you break a particle of this kind? So this is, of course, thanks to ChatGPT, I can visualize this for you. And why at all one should break a rock? Well, rock broken into smaller things is nothing but weathering. And weathering happens everywhere. Weathering takes millions of years, as I told you. Well, so if we are addressing this problem of breaking particles, what particles should you break? Professor Yadav told you, if you have to addressing a chemical problem, address a problem which is of value. Look at hydrogen. Similarly, if you're breaking a mineral, what mineral should you break? Well, if you start looking at, the whole planet is nothing but this, mostly silica. 50% on the surface of our planet is this. And this, if you break it into smaller pieces, that becomes the essential ingredient of soil. And without this nanoscale silica, we will not be living, because that nanoscale silica makes plant rice or wheat. They stand up because of nanoscale silica. Having understood that this is the material to be broken, essentially silica to be broken, well, you can go and look for the right silica. So this is river sand. So I go to my civil engineering department, talk to my dear colleague Manu Santhanam, and get a sample of river sand. This river sand is taken, and this I have been using for many, many years for many different kinds of studies, and come to the laboratory. And you grind it to make a powder of this river sand. which is composed of micron scale particles of silica. So you put it under an optical microscope and see that. Now, you want this kind of micron scale particles because you are using micron scale droplets, tens of micrometer droplets, to break it to nanoparticles. So we do this experiment. That is, these small pieces of this rock is suspended in water, and this is put in a needle of 50 micrometers diameter, and you apply a potential. And this is positive potential, and it produces something called a Taylor cone, and it produces droplets, mist. And if you look at this mist, which you can get scattering from it, and then you can study it, below this little nozzle, you put a sheet of aluminum, and this is kept at a varying distance L, so the droplets which are charged now are getting accelerated and going to the surface. You collect what is there. Now, you know, I was so certain that large particles will break. And Spurti came and told me that, sir, you know, we have found this breakage of particles. It is not as simple as I just told you. It is years of work of optimization to get this particular kind of a picture. Now, these micron scale particles have become nanoparticles. And if you examine this under high resolution transmission electron microscopy, you will find 110 plane of quartz. Now, many other particles are there, but this is the common surface, common plane that you see. At this point in time, I got curious. Well, you have quartz, which is becoming nanoparticles, and it is very important in the context of soil, etc. But is this the end of that? Can other minerals be broken? So this time, my source of minerals became my gemologist, Sultan, who is running a gems exhibition, a museum in Chennai. So he gave me about 140 or so different kinds of gems. And one such gem is what I am showing you. It is ruby. So this is not gem quality ruby. This is his ruby that he can give it away freely. So that ruby, and I again did the same process, grinding that, micron scale particles of ruby. You put it through the same process, and you get nanoparticles of ruby. And your ruby, as you know, is chromium-doped alumina. So you have also a number of other alumina. You have pure alumina, corundum. So you can have alumina in different forms, alpha and gamma and all that. You also have other minerals. So we put all these minerals through this process, and we find that these kinds of large minerals can become nanoparticles in just micro droplets in millisecond timescales. So having known that these natural minerals do this, how about synthetic minerals? So you go to your chemical supplier and ask them to supply synthetically made alumina. So here it is. And these are the particles. They become nanoparticles again. So both natural minerals and synthetic minerals become nanoparticles. Well, this research took about 2 years to get to some shape. We knew what was going on. Well, experimentally we knew what was going on. But we don't know, or we didn't know at that point in time, what was the reason for this transformation. So without really knowing this, we can't go to a good journal. So I asked my dear friend Umesh Waghmare, who is sitting here, what is going on here? And before I go, to what he did, I should also tell you that you have these small particles that are there in this TEM grid. That is not enough to convince people like Professor Yadav. Okay, so you need to do real quality experiment to collect quantities of materials to do bulk characterization. So we collected materials to do X-ray diffraction. So you see, this is silica. This is the powdered silica, and this is nanoscale silica. Now this is real bulk characterization. Bulk solid. And you see nanometer size particles. From the width, you calculate the pi size particle size to be 16 nanometers. So micron size particles have become bulk nanoscale. We can collect quantitatively this object material. Of course, we did a number of optimization. Below 3 kilovolts, no particle scission happens. Around 3.5, it begins to happen. 4.5, it is somewhat better. 5 kV, some other particle shapes occur. And all these particle shapes are very important. If you want to use these kinds of materials for fertilizers, adding urea into silica, becoming nano fertilizer, you require morphology control. Well, so we do all that kind of thing. Then I go to Umesh, as I just told you. Umesh, he puts everything into computers. And he asked this question, is it really facile to break a particle into nanoparticle? And he computes this. And he will tell you, if he has time, more about this. So I'm briefly running through this. So he asked this question, if I take a bulk material and cleave it along this axis called B, and then you separate these. So this is called cleavage. So he asks, what is the energy required for cleavage? And he finds that the energy required for the cleavage of a bulk material is something like this. The cleavage energy saturates about 6 angstroms or so. And that is somewhere here. But if you take a nanoscale material, he calls it a slab, the energy is smaller. This means that when material becomes smaller in size, cleavage becomes easier. Okay, that's fine. But is this cleavage the only way to make particle scission? Because he also finds that if you have bulk material and has cleavage, then there is no surface reconstruction. In slab, there is surface reconstruction, etc. Some details. He also asked this question, cleavage can also occur by something called slip. So if you take a material like this, you can slip one plane by something called a stacking fault. A series of stacking faults can give you a slip. So essentially to say that something like this, a rod, you can undergo slip like that. And you can ask this, what is the energy required for that? So he does this calculation, and because our time is such and the diverse kind of audience, I'm going to move this further. So you can ask how slip occurs. The slip itself can occur along specific kind of directions, and he computes energy required for specific slip. I'm going to move over this to go to a table to say that, if you just go back. So if you do a particular kind of slip, he finds that the energy required for this, or the process is spontaneous. So this energy is negative in comparison to the unslipped situation, which is zero energy. In microdroplets, a lot of people have studied microdroplets, and they know that there are protons in microdroplets. And if you add in silica, if you use these protons, will this slip be better or faster or more facile? He finds that the slip along a particular direction can be facile. Now, You can slip along different kinds of directions, and the kind of, he can compute all that, and these are those. And sometimes the slip is facile, sometimes the slip is not facile. With proton, it is better. Not just one proton, sometimes you can do also 2 protons or monoprotons. We calculated only 2, and we find that the slip is facile. In microdroplets, the way that we have produced, we have also electric field. We have electrons or protons can also produce electric field. So we ask this question, in this tiny volume, what is the influence of electric field on the slip? So with the electric field, he finds that the slip is facile. Now, Umesh also says, and we also know, that protons are used for many, many different kinds of industrial processes. Metals undergo embrittlement with protons. So protons can actually penetrate into matter and cause cleavage. In our current understanding, the process of proton-induced slip is far more better or easier, facile than cleavage. So we believe that this could be happening. But if you put protons onto silica surface, this silica can become silicate. And this silicate can come into solution. We ask this question, do you observe it? By mass spectrometry, we find that the silicate that are formed from such materials are comparable to the silicate that you can buy from the market. So all these are specific kind of ions, silicate ions that we have. We can also, of course, do tandem mass spectrometry and prove whether such a thing is actually happening. Well, on the surface, there are protons. Protons would mean that there is acidity. But acidic droplets, can they cause scission? We independently studied this and found that there is corrosion happening by acidic droplets, but there is no scission. This is without droplets, this is with droplets. You can have corrosion of these particles, but no scission. So this is all exciting. But it is, Umesh's calculations suggest that it is facile, but energy is required. Where is this energy coming from? Today we believe that microdroplets undergo what are called Coulomb breakage, when charges become very large and they are very close by. Because of Coulombic repulsion, charges force these droplets to break down. They overcome, Coulombic repulsion becomes larger than the surface tension, which holds the droplet together. So droplets break apart. Along with that, you have this proton-induced slip producing nanoparticles. So this is what we believe is happening. But energy question, where is this energy coming from? What would droplets do when size is reduced? A person called Rayleigh studied this long ago. And in 1882, he derived this equation, which is saying that there is a limiting charge for a limiting diameter. And this is something that has been very well worked out. People have studied droplets in great many details and found that when droplets have charges, they produce electric field, and this electric field can induce chemical reactions. People have also shown that when droplets are produced, there is some kind of surface activity that happens in a droplet. Essentially to say that there is a surfactant effect, which essentially means that reactive species come to the surface. There is a partitioning that happens, and as a result, there is a concentration gradient, And when solvent goes away, there is further increase in the concentration of the reacting species in a droplet. All of those people are studied. But people have also studied that when there is charge that is sitting on the surface, and when there is evaporation that is happening, there is this Coulombic scission that is occurring. It is also possible to create intense shock waves. And the magnitude of these shock waves can be as large as hundreds of megapascals, larger than the kind of Young's modulus for these materials. So it is possible that the shock could be the trigger for such breakage to occur. So there is a colleague, his name is Graham Cooks at Purdue, has written a perspective on this article in this very same issue, about very many other possibilities. I just showed you, I will be done in 3 minutes. I just showed you that nanoparticles can be formed, well, silica nanoparticles can be formed from microdroplets. But is this the end? So here is molybdenum sulfide nanosheets, which is becoming nanoparticles in microdroplets. And it is possible that graphene can become graphene dots by microdroplets. Well, we have not published these. And then it is possible that very many minerals can do that. And here it is. You have characterization, etc. So here is molybdenum sulfide bulk becoming particles. And if you go outside, a friend of mine gave me fool's gold. It's called marcasite from a mine in Kerala. He sent this material. This is from Wikipedia, but he has sent an equivalent material that also becomes nanoparticles. So across a spectrum of materials, you can apply this technology. So if you take sand outside, which is a mixture of many, many things, you can really use microdroplets to make active ingredients of soil. So what is so exciting? Well, in the laboratory, in the next 2 minutes, we make new materials, nanomaterials. And we use these nanomaterials in very many ways to create materials for useful applications, composites, for clean water. So this is a porous material. You make clean water from that using, well, our kind of technologies. Using such materials, we produce filters. And today, these filters have provided clean water to 12 million people. One such technology is what is shown here, which gives clean water to arsenic-free water to 1.3 million people in 1,700 community water purifiers of this kind. So we have this background of materials from laboratory becoming ton-scale products. So if you have microdroplets, with this science that I showed you, these microdroplets being there everywhere, it is possible that in nature, they might be making nanoparticles. And in that nanoparticles, when their nanoparticles are being born in microdroplets, there are active nascent surfaces being born, right? Virgin surfaces being born. On those virgin surfaces, there can be interesting catalysis. And those interesting catalysis could be important for the origin of life. And all of those are so fascinating, and a lot of biologists are interested in this. But I am particularly interested in one thing, that if we have so much of sand outside, and we have water available, which can be recycled from a city, it is possible that this technology can make active silica, which is composed of nanoparticles, and that can make deserts bloom. This can address the world's food crisis, or it can also augment fertility of soil and wherever soil is not fertile. And in the last one slide, what I want to tell you is this science, the conclusions essentially, is natural minerals break spontaneously in charged water microdroplets. It occurs today only in water. That's what we have seen. No other solvent does it. It's very important to emphasize on this fact. And water is very important for biology, and no other solvent does it. Studies on a variety of materials, fissile due to proton-induced slip. Detailed investigations are essential to know more. Yesterday I was talking to, today I was asking Umesh, is it possible to really see it? Maybe with the talk that is coming, you will see the possibilities of understanding this phenomena better. Implications to production of specific nanomaterials and soil in general, they're all fascinating. My science has led to several other activities in the context of water. This is called the International Center for Clean Water, where anyone can come and build a water technology and take that and walk outside, build a company at the IIT Madras Research Park. And I told you water, right? Water is fascinating. But to see water today, we have a new microscope. And we have that. And this is the best microscope that we can have today. And with that, we can see water. These are water molecules really in action under a microscope. The science is done by students. I too have a large research team of students. And this particular work was done by Spurti. She is currently attending the convocation function of IIT Madras, where she is just receiving the Best Thesis Award from IIT Madras. And the science was done with my dear friend, a great physicist, chemist, material scientist. India is proud of him, my dear friend Umesh Waghmare. Thank you very much.
Silicon to rubies to the cleavages through the quartz. I think that was a mesmerizing journey where the micro droplets get converted to soil. You are really a very precious gem for the nation, Padma Shri Dr. T. Pradeep sir. Let's have an applaud for him. A precious gem for all of us. To express the vote of gratitude to Honorable Padma Shri T. Pradeep sir, I invite Professor Bharat Chaudhary sir, the professor at the School of Electrical and Electronics Engineering at MIT World Peace University. Professor Bharat Chaudhary sir.
Distinguished scientists sitting on the dais, Professor T. Pradeep, scientists sitting off the dais, delegates, my colleagues, dear students, good afternoon. On behalf of NSRTC and Dr. Vishwanath Karad, MIT World Peace University, I am honored to express our deepest gratitude to Padma Shri Professor T. Pradeep for his exemplary talk. Professor Pradeep, an esteemed institute professor at IIT Madras, an eminent figure in the field of chemical sciences, truly captivated us with his insights on micro and nanoscale materials. It is through motivation to our youngsters and the scientists attending this conference that really it is great. First time I heard about this, being an electronic engineer, so I was thinking that how I can use the micromaterials or nanomaterials or maybe further for changing the electronic characteristics. And for sustainability, definitely it is going to play one of the biggest roles in our India and the world. It is a true motivation to our youngsters. Definitely, this is a new avenue for research for breaking the material and going towards the nanoparticles, like breaking silica, silicate, or other materials like graphene and other silicon dioxide and other things. Definitely, it is going to impact almost all sectors, what I was thinking. Maybe agriculture, maybe medicine, sciences, maybe communication, maybe electronics, because if we talk in electronics towards miniaturization, if we change the material, like broken material, nanoparticles, definitely it is going to impact a big way towards the sustainability. Professor Pradeep has pioneered work in affordable drinking water. Just now he showed one slide, which is arsenic-free water supplied to millions of people. This is a testament of his commitment to the societal well-being. After 75 years of independence, still we are struggling to provide potable water to all. So that's a big challenge, and sir, hats off to your research. Definitely it is going to one of the important steps towards Viksit Bharat in years to come. Sir is not just scientist, but he has many different facets. So some of them I'll tell. Sir has significant contributions to the literature also. He has written the books on sciences in English and in Malayalam. For that purpose, he has received Kerala Sahitya Academy Award also. Sir has dedication to education and philanthropy, including supporting a school in his village. Around 500 students he has supported so far, and really is a big contribution to India and to the youngsters coming from the interior area of the India. Sir, we are deeply grateful to your wisdom and inspiration, and you have shared with us. Thank you for your invaluable contributions to our conference and to the nation and to the world at large. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Padma Shri Dr. T. Pradeep, sir, and Professor Bharat Chaudhary, sir, for giving an expression of gratitude towards him. In the galaxy today, we have with us Professor Umesh Waghmare, sir. I request him to occupy the space on the dais. Sir Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein, Niels Bohr, Schrödinger, Heisenberg. It could be a classical or quantum physics, all intrigued by the Indian scientific principles, Tattvamasi, Koham, Soham, Aham Brahmasmi. This manifests into training popularly called as the machine learning. Today, we have a veteran scientist, a Shanti Soro Bhatnagar awardee, who is a physicist at the JNCASR, Bengaluru, and is working in the field of quantum physics, mechanics, and machine learning. Professor Umesh Waghmare is an Indian physicist and working in the theoretical sciences at JNCASR. His research in materials theory group is fundamentally based on computer simulations of electronic motion governed by quantum physics and resulting into electron-mediated interatomic interactions, which are the informations bonding for chemicals and microscopic couplings, essential for the specific purposes of enhancing properties of materials. They develop fundamentally with understanding of a material terms in atomic structure and electronic structure. The goal of their theoretical analysis is to derive material-specific properties of the macroscopic and intermediate length and the time scales starting from the first principles of chemistry and atomic structures. He is the awardee of Bhatnagar, Shanti Soro Bhatnagar Fellowship in 2010, and we are pleased to have Dr. Umesh Waghmare sir today. I request the team to play a short film to show about his credentials.
Today, we are privileged to introduce an eminent scholar whose contributions have significantly advanced the field of scientific research. Honorable Professor Umesh Waghmare, Professor at Jawaharlal Nehru Center of Advanced Scientific Research, Government of India, Bangalore. Professor Umesh Waghmare's distinguished career is marked by his groundbreaking work in theoretical and computational materials science. As a professor at Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, His research has opened new avenues in understanding the properties of advanced materials. His pioneering research in the field of computational material science has had a profound impact, providing valuable insights into the behavior of materials at the atomic level and driving innovations in technology and industry. Professor Waghmare's dedication to scientific excellence and his innovative approach have earned him international recognition and numerous accolades. His contributions have not only advanced scientific knowledge but have also inspired a new generation of researchers to pursue excellence in the field of material science. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming our esteemed special guest of honor, Honorable Professor Umesh Waghmare.
Predictive models and simulations of materials using quantum physics and machine learning by Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar awardee, Professor Umesh Waghmare, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and it's my pleasure to be here. I thank organizers for giving me this opportunity to be among these brilliant scientists and engineers here, and also in this beautiful hall to be giving a talk. I know I'm standing before lunch for all of you, and it's pretty late, so I'll definitely stick to 25 minutes and start my lecture now. So the first two talks today emphasize technology and basic science. My talk will try to show you how the interplay between technology and fundamental science is critical to doing something any challenging, which may be grand challenge for the society. And the topic that I have today is materials, and what is the basic science of materials, and that's usually based on quantum physics. And more recently, there's a revolution happening. All of you are witnessing it with machine learning and artificial intelligence. So I'll end my talk in the second half by what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and how things are happening in this field. So let me start with a slide on history. In this figure on the y-axis is relative importance of materials, and x-axis is time. It starts 10,000 BC. And you will see the first metal known to humans is gold. Not surprising, because gold doesn't interact with anything in nature and hence can be found in its pure form and easy to identify. It's very bright. Then you had Stone Age. Each era that human civilization lived in is named after the materials which dominated the lifestyle of humans at that time, starting with Stone Age, which is basically natural materials, then Bronze Age, followed by Iron Age, and more recently, you have basically semiconductor-based materials which are dominating our lifestyle. One thing which changed is, you will wonder, the importance of metals, basically, it kept increasing until 1930s, because at that time, people wanted to make stronger and stronger structural materials, bridges, railways, and other type of things. And quantum physics was developed in 1920s. And after quantum physics was known, we knew how to manipulate electrons in a material. And that led to this amazing change, I believe, in the reversal of trend that you see in the relative importance of materials. What is happening today is another very critical change, which is based on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And my talk will try to give a flavor of what are the opportunities and how this is influencing the evolution of material science. So material science is an interdisciplinary science, very strongly connected with engineering. In fact, the two talks that you heard today have a lot of material science in them, and my job is to show you how to think of that science from fundamental principles. So science is how the history of a material, like its processing, affects its structure, and thus the material's properties and performance, which is what determine its ability to be used in applications. Okay? So this is the tetrahedral paradigm of material science called PSPP, and the central to this is characterization. Characterization is also, of course, can be done using experiment and theory. Professor Pradeep's talk showed you how atomic scale, very fine to different scale of characterization is possible. And it's very central to materials studies. And quantum physics is relevant to only one side of this tetrahedron. You know, that's very interesting. So, of course, quantum science is very fundamental, strong, but it doesn't address all these aspects of paradigm of material science. So, indeed, material science is a very, sorry, this battery is down, I think. Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah. This side, okay, thank you. So, it's a truly exciting interdisciplinary science, and it affects society. So one take-home message I wish to give you at this time in my talk is, if one wants to do something really challenging, which involves science and technology, you really need to work with many people. You need to work with people from different backgrounds, different expertise to achieve the challenging task. And that's one of the messages you will see in my talk as well. So this example connects to Professor Yadav's talk, catalysis particularly. So what is the fundamental ingredient that is involved in a material that affects its behavior? How atoms interact with each other. And atoms interact with each other via electrons, right? And that's the sort of chemical bonding or chemical interactions between atoms. And if one has an accurate description of these interactions, you can simulate a material starting essentially from scratch. And that's what is called as first principles quantum theoretical description of a material. In this description, a material is a soup of nuclei and electrons. You will see I'm representing nuclei as spheres because these are heavy, slow classical particles, whereas electrons are shown as waves because they are very light and ultra fast relatively, and they have to be treated using wave mechanics or what is called as quantum mechanics. So for any configuration of positions of nuclei, electrons are so agile that they, within quantum mechanical framework, redistribute themselves to remain in their minimum energy quantum ground state. And this approximation is called as adiabatic approximation, that electrons instantaneously follow the motion of nuclei in a crystal or a molecule. Yeah? And once you do that, you basically have access to what is called as the total energy of this soup. I'll tell you what this soup is, and that basically chemists call as interatomic potential, meaning just like sun and earth are held together by gravitational force, atoms are held together too, and those forces are mediated by electrons. Yeah? And that's what, to derive that, interaction. This is called first principles theoretical approach. In fact, you will wonder why I am talking about it. This has become a third independent way of doing science in chemistry and material science and physics, because computers have advanced so much and algorithms have advanced so much that you can really bypass experiments in many cases and do simulation on a computer and predict new material and properties. So this total energy function is the fundamental concept here, which is a function of atomic numbers and atomic positions. Atomic numbers capture the chemistry, right? Silicon is very different from carbon. And the main difference is their atomic numbers are different, but that means the number of electrons are different, and that's why their behavior is different. So electronic dependence is captured by this ground state quantum energy of within quantum framework, and ions, of course, interact with each other by Coulomb interactions. So this total energy function is the fundamental quantity that we calculate using computer simulations, and this becomes the interatomic potential. If you minimize this energy, you get structure of any molecule or a crystal, or you can use it in molecular dynamics or Monte Carlo simulation to get thermodynamic properties out. Yeah? So this is the fundamental idea I wish to communicate here, which governs most of these simulations. And this is called as the standard model of materials. Just like in particle physics, you may have heard, there's a standard model of particles. This involves basically the total energy function I defined. And what do you do with it? If you minimize this energy, you get geometric structure of a material. If you get electronic minimization, you get electronic structure, and you also have access to dynamical structure, meaning how atoms vibrate in a material and a molecule. Yeah? So all these things come out of this. This is the example. This is called as geometric structure of a material, in this case phosphorine. Then you can also have electronic structure, which is basically bands of electronic states which are separated by a gap. And you may know these are called conduction band and these are called valence band. And these are accessible with these simulations in a very efficient manner. You can also have vibrational structure, which are basically frequencies of vibration as a function of inverse wavelength. And this has a lot of information. In fact, the Raman spectroscopy, which is used extensively in characterization of molecules, materials, and chemicals, they depend entirely on this figure. And now what I'm showing you is the power of simulations. To do this in a lab, you will need a nuclear reactor for neutron diffraction. You will need electron spectroscopies and X-ray diffraction. Whereas on a computer, this can be done within 1 hour on a laptop today. Yeah, that's how the computing power has changed. So the message here is, indeed, computer simulations are very powerful, particularly those based on quantum physics, where you can predict properties. I have used no experimental information in coming up with these predictions, okay? So, of course, if you use 2 layers of this phosphorine, you get a metallic state. You know, very spectacular finding. One atomic membrane is semiconductor, separated by a gap, conduction and valence band. If you have 2 layers of phosphorine, you get a metallic state. So within the same material, two-dimensional membrane, electrical engineers will be quite excited because in some region, if you have 2 layers, you have a metallic contact. So you can make a nice circuit out of this semiconductor. Yeah? So these fascinating things are possible. And now machine learning is coming in many ways. One of the ways is to get total energy itself using machine learning. Second is to get properties from electronic motion. And third is machine learning gives you properties as a function of descriptors. You will see some of this very soon in my talk later in the second half of the talk. So let me now start with a real application, okay? Up until now, it was an introduction to the methods we use, the fundamental science that goes into these simulations. Now let me show you what spectacular things you can do using these simulations in moderate resources of computing. So the first example I wish to give you is ferroelectricity. Ferroelectrics are a very interesting class of materials. All of you know magnets, which have magnetic dipole moment in them. Just like that, ferroelectrics have electric dipole moment, polarization. And if you compress a material, this dipole moment changes and generates an electrical response, which you can measure in a circuit. Conversely, you can also use electrical circuit to change this dipole moment and make that material contract or expand. Yeah, these are called as sensor operation and actuator operation, which converts electrical signal to mechanical and vice versa. In fact, the speakers in your mobile phone, microphone used in mobile phone, is based on this property. Third is, again, even more interesting, that if you apply large enough electric field in the negative direction, opposite direction, you can flip this dipole moment to the opposite side. So you can have the same material in 2 different states, one with up dipole and one with down dipole, and immediately electrical engineers would say, yes, we can use it to store information, binary information, up and down, right? 1 and 0. So you can make non-volatile computer memories using this property. Non-volatile meaning even if you switch off electric power, the memory is preserved by this material device. Yeah? So very fascinating properties. They are used extensively from heartbeat monitors in hospitals to naval submarines where you use it for sonar applications. So what we did using these simulations I introduced to you, we have predicted a new property in existing material. This is hafnium oxide. I'm sure some of you have heard of this material before. It's a material which is already used in semiconductor technology as a dielectric. Yeah? And it's a crystal unit cell of this hafnium oxide. You've seen crystals in Pradeep's talks. This is a slightly more complicated version of the crystal. But what is fascinating about it is that oxygen atoms, you will see the red color atoms are off-center with respect to their position. The blue atoms are exactly at the center of the cube. And that gives rise to dipole moment only in one sheet of oxygen atoms and 0 dipole moment in the next sheet of oxygen atoms. And this is a 3-dimensional crystal structure in which you can flip the position of this oxygen atom to the reverse direction. Yeah? See, you saw manipulating hydrogen in the first talk, gas, manipulating water, which was liquid. Here we are manipulating solid using external electric field, and in such a fine control that you can just have a single sheet of oxygen atoms which can flip up and down. Yeah? Using this, you can make memories, of course, and these are 2D sheets, and HFO2 is already part of silicon technology, so you can make really interesting devices from it. What is shown using these calculations, you saw, what we calculate is the total energy, and this is the starting energy of hafnium oxide where all the dipole moments are up. You flip one dipole moment, you get to the same energy. You flip one more dipole moment, you get another minimum energy, same energy configuration. So HFO2 is fascinating in the sense you can arrange these dipolar sheets in any way you like, and your crystal will still have the same energy. Yeah, and that's why it has the fantastic property in contrast to lead titanate, which is a commercially used ferroelectric today. You may have heard of PZT, and here, if you try to do that, it doesn't really happen. You know, one dipole moment switching immediately leads to switching of all the dipole moments. Yeah, so it's a very, very atomic scale control possible in HFO2, and based on that, you can develop a device which you can use, deposit an electrode on the film of this material and flip these dipole moments and make memory element where you can have 2 bits per nanometer length. You know, it's the highest density of memory device one can develop with this. And based on that, we proposed this technology where you can have ultimately high density computer memories, where the beauty is you do not need nanofabrication technology to make this material. The 3-dimensional material has a crystal structure which supports half nanometer dipolar sheets. All you need is ability to deposit electrodes on that fine scale. And that's getting better and better these days. So the limitation on the size of the electrode will determine how thin memory device you can develop with this material. Yeah? So this was the prediction we have. This is purely theoretical work which appeared in Science in 2020. This work was done with Juni Lee, who was my PhD student, jointly with Seoul National University. So let me go to now point out that, well, these calculations are very powerful. You will already see that. Unfortunately, there are challenges too. And that's the beauty that makes it exciting. The computer CPU time to do this calculation scales as order n cube. Means if you double the number of atoms in the system, computing time goes up by a factor of 8. Memory required to do this calculation scales as order n squared, means memory scales as doubles if you double, goes by factor of 4 if you double the number of atoms. And that's quite difficult. Most real materials, you know, particularly what Professor Yadav showed or Professor Pradeep showed, involve many defects like dislocations and sort of various level length scales, and you can't really use these calculations at all the length scales. So you need multi-scale modeling strategy to bridge scales. And this is what we did with Professor Pradeep's work, which you heard, and I don't think I can give you better introduction than what Pradeep did. And this was sort of the work you saw in the last presentation, and very beautiful concept that you have a micro droplet which is charged, and if you place a micro crystallite of silica or any mineral, as Professor Pradeep showed, upon application of electric field, it can undergo fission and form nanoparticles of that mineral. Yeah? And our job was to see if we can explain it. As you will see, this is quite complicated. It involves mechanical behavior, electrochemistry, and lots of other phenomena. And indeed, there we used modeling, as Professor Pradeep already introduced. This is called phenomenological modeling, where we worked with mechanical engineers in the past, where they often work on brittleness versus ductility of a material, which is very crucial to any technological application. You can't have a material which will break in 2 days and use it in any application. Yeah? So the first quantity is cleavage energy, as Professor Pradeep mentioned. It's relevant to brittle failure. Like a chalk breaks, it's undergoing cleavage. And that's the energy we showed. In the bulk is much more difficult, and in the nanoscale form, this energy is much smaller. So smaller particles of silica break much more easily, and the reason for it is the surface atoms reconstruct and form voids, and those voids involve deformation, lower the energy, and electric field gets highly concentrated in these sharp regions, and interaction of hydrogen basically facilitate breaking even further. That's one mechanism. Then, as Pradeep showed, we also looked at slip. Slip is a mechanism for ductility. Most metals, if you apply force, the metallic wire extends. And the way it extends is by slip of different crystallographic planes with respect to each other. So that's called ductility, and that's what we looked at here. And here, as Pradeep showed, our calculations reveal that, in fact, the slip energy is negative, particularly if you go to nanoscale slabs of silicon dioxide, which means there are silicon dioxide on that scale spontaneously will undergo slip type of mechanical failure, and that leads to formation of steps. Steps basically means these are sharp, which are of course blunted by the atomic relaxation, but they give rise to reactive sites, which are of course relevant to catalysis, for example. And the same reactive sites are also very receptive to high proton, and they involve the electrochemistry, which basically gives rise to formation of silicates and further cleavage of this type of minerals. So the mechanism which we derived from this analysis is stacking fault or slip is the primary mechanism. It leads to formation of steps, which are atomically sharp, which becomes blunt after relaxation. And these constitute the reactive sites and host to receiving large electric fields, which give rise to breaking and of these minerals. That's the mechanism. It involves atomistic mechanics at one scale, then mechanochemistry in the second stage, and electrochemistry in the third stage. All of these come together to give rise to fascinating effect that Professor Pradeep mentioned. So far, I gave you two examples. In the first one, we predicted a new property, which was very fascinating. The second one was we explained something which was very challenging and at the same time very fascinating scientific process. Now I'm going to show you something else. There are two broad limitations of this principal simulation scheme, quantum scheme. One is, even if we can predict a material to be really good, it's not often very easy to synthesize these materials on a large scale. As Professor Yadav would say, any application you need not micrograms, you need kgs of material. Yeah? The second is, even if I have a good material predicted, I can only predict simple properties, not complicated properties. Example is here. Jet engine, all of you have seen, has an age of 30 years. And the reason you say age is 30 years is because the super alloy which is used in the blades of a jet engine undergo mechanical fatigue and failure in about 30 years. And quantum theory is too far behind. Although in principle it can predict, it's very practically challenging to predict this from quantum theory. Second example is failure of a battery material. All of you know battery has a finite life. In fact, that's the primary determinant for many of your devices. And what gives rise to this degradation of voltage with time and breakdown of a battery as well. These are called failure of materials which limit the life or cyclability of a material. And these problems we cannot at present tackle using the existing computing resources with quantum simulation. So what do we do here? I told you that material science involves this four-step process. And presently, if you develop a material here to deploy it in a real technological application, it takes 20 years. And we wish to make it accelerated discovery and deployment, and quantum physics comes only in this middle part. So you need an integrated approach which can capture all four at a time and work with experimentalists in developing this even faster. And that's where machine learning-based predictive models are becoming very relevant. What does machine learning do for you? Well, this is the first flavor or generation of machine learning. Basically, it's a fitting process. Yeah? So you have some raw data, and you have a material property or performance. it fits a function called neural network or some other function to this for relationship. For example, density functional theory is a function which relates density to energy. Suppose I give you a TEM image that Pradeep showed in his talk. Can I predict its mechanical strength or catalytic activity of a system? You will say, well, it's impossible. But you will find out that there is a lot more information in the data and images than what human eyes can see, and that's what machine learning is banking on. So why is it called machine learning and not just ordinary fitting? Because this fitting involves training the machine learning model by using the data that is available in the literature. Yeah? So artificial neural networks, all of you have heard of these things before. They are very accurate to fit all the data. They often need very huge amount of data. But they are black box type model, which you will see later what happens to this in the last part of the talk. So you can't obtain physical or chemical insights into these models, even if you can fit the data very well. And it also involves extrapolation when you want to use this model to predict something totally new. So our approach is to use machine learning for feature selection. So the data that is available to you is shown here as a box, which is a matrix of data, where column represents material and row represents property, or what is called as descriptor. We call any property of a material is a descriptor of a material. So you have a huge data available. The technique which we use is called BOPGD, Bootstrap Projected Gradient Descent Algorithm, which was developed by a computer scientist in IISc working with us. And we use this to identify fingerprint descriptors. Fingerprint descriptors basically reduces this huge data into minimal matrix size, where of course materials are all preserved, but the number of descriptors is minimized. So what question we pose is we want to fit like neural networks, but we also want to do the fitting with minimum number of parameters. Yeah? That's why it's called fingerprint descriptors. Okay, and then use some simple model to fit the descriptor to the model, and we demonstrated it in a problem relevant to what Professor Yadav talked about, CO2 reduction, the catalytic activity, developing catalyst for CO2 reduction. And what we showed is very fascinating. We not only sort of showed that we can predict catalytic properties, but we also improved the existing model which is used in chemistry called D-band model for catalysis. Yeah? So machine learning using this feature selection scheme can give insights into chemical insights as well. Okay? Then we asked a question in material science. The second challenge is you don't have big data. In biology, you have a huge data because ATGC sequences in genes is run in millions, right? So the data is available in plenty. But in materials, that's not a luxury. The second problem is the data collected by one physicist or chemist or scientist may not be in the same protocol as that collected by another one. So there's a huge heterogeneity in data. So can we learn from small data, but also combining wisdom with it, learning from data as well as wisdom. So we worked on a hard problem here, material failure. And in this case, we focused on electrical failure of a material, which is sort of similar to silica breakdown to nanoparticles. And here we worked with a database which is already published in the United States by Ram Prasad's group. And these are the data that are available on some 90 compounds. And Ram Prasad, of course, also used machine learning. They called lasso model. It's a very popularly used model for feature selection, and showed that breakdown field of dielectric breakdown field, the field at which material breaks down, is given by this complicated expression. Well, it's not so complicated, but you will see it's very physically meaningless. It depends on the band gap of a compound, which is easy to get, but it also depends on the highest vibrational frequency of a crystal, and that's not always easy to access. Yeah? So physical interpretation is hard and descriptors are hard to calculate. So applicability is limited. We used our BOPGD algorithm, but we combined it with physical constraints and scaling laws, which are available in the literature for last 30, 40 years. So this is how we constrain the machine learning model developed with BOPGD by physical laws. And then we learn from scheme which learns from data as well as wisdom, and our model, you will see, looks much simpler. This is the model which we develop. It's a power law, and in fact, you can interpret it physically as well, that larger the gap, larger the electric field you need, and smaller the bond length, larger electric field you need to break the bond, as you will expect from chemistry. Yeah? So not only that, what we show is very spectacular. If you combine machine learning with physical laws, the earlier model, Kim's model, the new material which was not used in the database has a huge error with respect to the actual value, whereas the model which we have, which is a simpler model, which doesn't do fitting as accurately as the artificial neural network, but it works much better if you use it in a totally different set of systems. Yeah? It's called transferability of a model, which is much better. So indeed, this scheme can be quite powerful in obtaining insights as well as using it in a big way. In the last few minutes, I'll close by telling you what are the more recent developments, and all of you have seen it before, called generative artificial intelligence. And this is AI. Generative AI is a subset of this, and large language model is a further subset of this. And it's basically one of the most popular examples of this is generative pre-trained transformer, GPT. You may have heard of ChatGPT, which corresponds to the large language model, which was originally developed in natural language processing. So LLM or GPT basically is a transformer neural network. Transformer is you will see in a minute. Generative because it generates content, meaning if you give input as cat chases, it will give you back an output saying cat chases mice. Yeah? If you give, it's a huge data, generative AI, meaning you need a very large amount of data and it has billions of parameters, and that's why it's called pre-trained. You don't need new data to generate GPT. And third is it's based on large language model. And there, basically, it's based on the transformer architecture, which involves encoding and decoding, and more importantly, the concept of attention. And this is what I told you was missing in the first generation of artificial neural network. In this case, attention basically means pay more attention to a part of the data which is physically more meaningful and important. Yeah? So identify important parts of the data, and that is done by comparing vectors. Data is represented as a vector, and similarity between the two vectors allows you to identify what is important and what is not. Indeed, this is very powerful. So this is conventional machine learning that I told you before. You start with data, your own data, or somewhere else. You use data analytics to develop models, and then use application to predict certain things. You will say, well, this is not machine learning. Machine learning involves feedback that the data which is not predicted well goes back, and you train the machine learning model, and then it becomes artificial intelligence. In the generative AI, you don't use your own data to begin with. There's a huge amount of data already available on the internet. And that data and information is used to develop a large language model, LLM, like GPT, which is already existing with billions of parameters. In fact, few hundreds of billions of parameters, depending on which generation of GPT you use. And then you use prompting to develop a tune-specific model. And that's where the application comes in. The application will have to basically develop a specific model by prompting the large language model. So indeed, this is the feedback here. You don't go back to the original data that is available in the literature. And this is quite different because you see, there is a division here. This already exists in the cloud, and you are making use of it by prompting. So prompting engineering has become a new term, which basically means how to communicate effectively with the GPT to do very challenging tasks. So indeed, you will say, well, is it going to replace? In fact, this is like a Einstein in the basement. You have access to all the data in the world, all the wisdom in the world, which has been used to beautifully develop this brilliant model. And this is Einstein in the basement. And all of us have access to that Einstein in the basement. You can converse with Einstein and develop solutions for your challenging problem. So it's really remarkable development. Of course, you may have heard lots of negative things about GPT as well, ChatGPT. Well, is it always going to give you the right thing? Of course, humans are also wrong many times, including Einstein. Yeah? But in that sense, yes, GPT has its own limitations. But as I told you, what will make a difference is domain knowledge of a scientist who will interact with this LLM model using prompting is what will determine. So it's a huge opportunity for scientists not to get intimidated by development of GPT, but to use it to our biggest advantage. And indeed, there is a recent paper in Nature by Gert Seder where they have shown spectacular application of this. The need of the hour is we need to combine experiment and theory, data together to develop this type of specific models which work well. So I'll summarize my presentation. I hope I gave you a flavor for what is fundamental in techniques based on quantum mechanics and machine learning used in material science. And machine learning allows holistic integration of models which can really tackle problem of materials at all scales as much as possible and lead to discovery of new materials in a very accelerated manner. I must end by saying that quantum physics has no alternative. Even if you predict something using machine learning, you do need to use quantum physics to understand some of the things and also go to lab finally to make these things and make them work in real world. Yeah? So it's a huge opportunity, and I really hope my talk was stimulating to young generation here at least to take up this type of problems in their scientific research or business problems as well. I wish to acknowledge my students, Koendila Devnath, who worked with Professor Pradeep, and Spurti and others in his group. This is the group from Shell with whom we developed BOPGD algorithm for machine learning, and Indra Bhattacharya, the computer scientist from IISc, and the Korean group, particularly also my student Pawan, to predict new type of ferroelectricity. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Honorable Professor Umesh Waghmare, sir. First principle models, mechanistic models, going to the hybrid models, and now the generative pre-trained interpreters. I think a wonderful world of simulations, the machine learning and AI, a nice thread you unfolded, sir. Thank you very much for giving the insights to our research fellows here. I think they are very much thankful to you for that knowledge and connoisseur coming in from the experts in the field. To express the gratitude towards Honorable Professor Umesh Waghmare, sir, I invite the person who has brought the Muskan in the Microsoft with the similar AI technologies, the Dean of our School of Computer Engineering and Technology, Dr. Mangesh Bedekar, sir. Dr. Mangesh Bedekar, sir, for expression of gratitude to Professor Umesh Waghmare, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi. Namaskar, Waghmare, sir. I hope many of us might have envisioned something very different that we would like land up hearing, but probably Waghmare, sir, diluted it down to a level that probably all of us could distill in a little. I understand going through the literature that he had cited and the presentation that he landed up doing, well, yes, computer science, computer simulations can touch every aspect, as we say, and they have even reached aspects at nanomaterial levels and micromaterial levels. Yes, indeed, indeed. I mean, no wonder people like you are here, and that is why Viksit Bharat is aligned for by 2047. Thank you, sir. I mean, a heartfelt gratitude to you for sparing time, coming here, explaining it at a minute level that we could understand, not at a micro level that anybody else would want to, but at some basic levels, yes. Thank you for coming and gracing the occasion. And I thank all the audience for a patient listening. I know, as Waghmare sir very rightly started, that this is just the talk before lunch. So obviously, it becomes a little nervy at times. But then, yes, thank you for a patient listening. And as Dr. Joshi very correctly pointed out, now that we know about Gen AI, we know about ChatGPT, many of our research scholars sitting here and listening to the talks might have got some new avenues or new application domains where you can look computer simulations, look at generative AI, look at large corpus knowledge, and as sir very rightly pointed out, two words that I would use, learning from data and learning from wisdom. Even what a chemical reaction can teach us is probably something that could easily be correlatable. I mean, anecdotally, he very clearly pointed out what biology has tons of data available, but even standard chemical reactions do reveal a lot, as pointed out by sir. And I hope that will give us some more learning insights and experiences for my fellow research scholars. Thank you, sir. Let me thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bedekar, sir, the Dean of School of Computer Engineering and Technology. I request, sir, to be seated on the dais and invite Dr. G.D. Yadav, sir, and Dr. T. Pradeep, sir, on the dais. I'm sure we have so many questions and queries. However, due to paucity of time, and we all engaged up and ready for the formal inaugural session at 4 o'clock, we would be having this question answer session probably during the campus tour. Honorable dignitaries and honorable invitee scientists are requested to join us for the lunch after the session in the Plateau Hall, which is on my right hand side here. And all the invitees, fellow research scholars who are getting the mesmerizing input from all these stalwarts are requested to join for the lunch at the VIP hall at our Chandralok canteen. So the facilitation is already been arranged. All invitees would be having their lunch here near the Plateau Hall. After the session, I request all the research scholars to stay back as Dr. Varade sir will be giving, the director of the doctoral program would be giving you certain instructions for the inaugural session. Please stay back. And I hope all of you would have signed on the attendance sheet circulated here with. I request Honorable Dr. Murthy Chawli sir, the Dean Research and Development, MIT World Peace University, and invite him to express the vote of thanks for and towards the dignitaries who have illuminated with their generous knowledge and shared it profoundly with all our learners. I'm very sure that this profound knowledge, which is as an endowment, will remain with us for a very long time, because what these stalwarts have earned throughout their life is being shared and being nurtured throughout some outputs at these conditions. And it is very short span, honorable dignitaries on the dais, that we really can have it. However, we find ourselves as the honeybees who are moving on the different flowers and collecting the nectar. Lot of nectar today we have collected. So we thanks to you all. We express our thanks to the pillars of NSRTC who have invited these galaxies here. So the co-convener of NSRTC and Dean R&D, Dr. Murthy Chawli sir, I invite him for expression of vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. It's been an honor to be proposing vote of thanks on the occasion of this plenary session under National Scientists Roundtable Conference 2024. It's been a great honor to be here, and at the same time, I would like to thank UNESCO Chair Professor Holder, Dr. Vishwanath Karad, and our Executive President, Dr. Rahul Karad sir, for extending their constant support in conducting this particular event and in this way. At the outset, I would like to thank our special guest of honor, Dr. Ashok Joshi, founder, CEO, Microlin USA, for his pursuing to undertake this particular event. And also I remember many sessions to undergo to understand the progress of this particular event over a period of time. And this turned out in this way. And also I would like to express my sincere thanks to Padma Shri awardee, former Vice Chancellor, Dr. G.D. Yadav for giving an insightful lecture on sustainability and setting us the tone for negative goals for sustainable energy sector materials. I also thank our special guest of honor, Padma Shri Dr. Pradeep, IIT Madras, for his valuable remarks on how microdroplets will enhance converting bulk materials to micromaterials and nanomaterials into the soil, whatever it is, and the correlation between these two over a period of time. And I also express my thanks to special guest of honor for his valuable lecture, Professor Umesh Waghmare, on simulations combining with quantum physics and artificial neural networks, machine learning, etc. It was an insightful lecture, sir, and almost most of the students must have gained some insight because of these particular lectures. I also express my thanks to Dr. Bharat sir, National Convener for this NSRTC 2024 for his introduction remarks. At the outset, from the members of the university, I express my thanks to Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Sanjay Kamtekarji, and our anchor, Dr. Ratnajib Joshi. Last but not least, I will also express my thanks to all the faculty members, deans, directors, and the support staff, media, IT, photograph, accommodation, staff members, transport and accommodation, and other support staff, and also for patient hearing from the students from full-time scholars. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Dean Dr. Murthy Chawli, sir. Sir, just a few seconds. So before we break, we will have the national anthem. Before that, we have a couple of instructions. I invite the national convener of NSRTC and Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Milind Pandey, sir.
Only 2 minutes. We have a scheduled program. After this, we will break for the lunch. As said by the anchor, Dr. Joshi, all the invited scientists, guests, my deans, directors, program directors will be in Plateau Hall, and all my colleagues, other colleagues will be in VIP canteen. At 3:30, we have an inaugural of Center of Excellence in Biotechnology. After inaugurating that Center of Excellence at the hands of the honorable guests today, Dr. Mashelkar sir, Dr. Bhatkar sir, on the dais, all the 3 dignitaries will be joining us for the inaugural of the Center of Excellence in Biotechnology and Bioengineering. And 4 p.m., we will start with the function. So this is a short introduction. So we will be assembled here only at 3:30, and we will go to the Center of Excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And let's be in attention mode for the national anthem. I request the team to play the national anthem. Thank you everyone. We declare that the plenary session has closed and we will move for the lunch. Invitees will proceed to the Plateau Hall. Honorable Founder President Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karad sir is waiting. And the students and the research fellows, please stay back here. After your discussion and instructions from Dr. Varade sir, all of you will move to the canteen VIP hall for the lunch. After the lunch, there would be a campus tour of the invitees, and then all of us will assemble at the Vivekanand Hall as instructed by Dr. Pandey sir. And the inaugural function, formal inaugural, will be starting at 4 p.m. at Swami Vivekanand Hall. All are requested to finish your lunch quickly.